Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto x Ruby and rwby. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by DRAG0N5 on and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1. Human Nature. Ruby Rose was having a confusing day. She honestly couldn't tell whether to call it a good or bad day. Her day had started out pretty normal. She woke up, ate breakfast, watched TV for a little while. She took Sway out for a walk with her dad while they talked about stuff in the upcoming school year. Later on she and her sister Yang sparred for a while. Then Yang's friends showed up and Yang went with them. So Ruby decided to go visit her mom. Talk to her for a little bit. She hadn't in a while and since she wasn't doing anything might as well. After talking to her mom she decided to do maintenance on Crescent Rose. Imagine her surprise when she found out she was low on dust. She decided to check every other detail and would come back to the dust a little later. While her sister was still out, Zway was taking a nap, her uncle was still on mission, and her dad had lesson plans for school top lan. Yeah, let's go with that. So she decided to take a trip into Vale since she didn't have anything else to do. So she hopped on a bullhead and headed to the big city. She could do it by herself. She was a big girl. She drank milk. After arriving in Vale she decided to kill some time. It was still early in the day and the dust shop wasn't going anywhere. So she headed to the arcade to play some games. She left a couple hours later after taking all the top 5 spots in all of the sniper game scoreboards. She was going to head to the dust shop but her stomach had other plans. After finding a place to eat she finally headed to the dust shop. She walked in and got her dust. It was a simple transaction. Didn't even take 5 minutes. She knew what she wanted. That's when she noticed the new weapons catalog. She looked at the time. It was getting dark out, but if she was right then Yang was still out and her dad was sleeping at his desk from boredom of lesson planning. Yeah, let's go with that. So she decided to read it. What was the harm? Apparently getting robbed was. While she had her headphones on and was reading apparently some people decided to rob the shop. In all honesty they most likely would have gotten away with it if one of them hadn't approached Ruby. She had had her music on loud and she was completely unaware of her surroundings. Her Uncle Crow would have been disappointed. But they had approached her. And they had tried to take her stuff. So there was only one thing she could think of to do. She kicked their butts. It had been a quick fight. They didn't even last a minute. This had definitely been one of the highlights of her day. A few moments later she found herself on top of a roof following the apparent leader of the thieves. She would have apprehended him had the bullhead not shown up a second later. Then he threw the dust crystal at her. Then he shot it. It would have hurt had the huntress not show up. The huntress had saved her. She would have squealed in delight had the thief not switched with someone else. This woman had training too. Ruby could only watch in awe as the huntress and the attacker fought each other. Then it hit her. What was she doing? She was trainee but she could help. So she began firing shots at the assailant but to no avail. Well, she had just been going toe-to-toe with a huntress, but hey. Unfortunately, they had managed to get away. This had been marked as one of the bad things in Ruby's day. But there was a huntress next to her. So she approached her. She had really hoped that she had impressed her. She wouldn't ask that though. She didn't want to seem desperate after all. She would merely ask for an autograph. No harm there, right? Wrong. About 5 minutes later Ruby found herself at the police station in an interrogation room. This had been marked as another bad thing to happen in Ruby's day. So there she was sitting there being scolded by the huntress. It hadn't been pleasant to say the least. Then the huntress had complimented her. Ruby had been elated. Then the huntress scolded her again. Ruby had been scared. Wah. Ruby had thought with her mind spinning. Did I do good or do bad? Ruby had been very confused as the lecture continued. Then the huntress told her that someone had wanted to talk to her. Ruby had expected a police officer or her dad or something. She had not expected the headmaster of her dream school to come walking into the room to talk to her. She had been a bit thrown off about the comment on her eyes, but other than that her mind was still trying to process the man sitting across from her. As the conversation continued Ruby answered all of his questions wholeheartedly. It didn't hurt that he had cookies. That was a major plus in her books. Then he asked if she wanted to go to his school. She didn't even hesitate in her answer. Then to her shock he had said yes. Ruby had been ecstatic. But as Osborne kept talking some of his words had sunk in. He wasn't talking about in 2 years. He was talking about in 2 weeks. He was admitting Ruby into his school 2 years early. Ruby's mind had been blown. Osborne and the huntress had left after saying he would contact the headmaster at Signal and her father in the morning. Then they were gone. Ruby had remained there as his words finally truly hit home with her. Which brings us to now. What did I just do? She screamed out. How could she accept the offer? She wasn't ready to go to Beacon. What was she going to do? "It's okay Ruby, it's okay," she reassured herself. "Just explain to him that you meant you would love to go when you're old enough. He's going to call dad in the morning so you can do it then." At the mention of dad, she realized that she probably should head home. So she got out of the room and began to make her way to the front to get her stuff and leave. Still though she thought. It was a nice thought. At least he thought I was good enough to enter his school now, though I'm really not. Her thoughts were getting gloomy. It's okay, she tried to think positively. I'll enter when I'm the proper age, and my skills will be even better. As she continued to encourage herself, she had been completely unaware of her surroundings. So much so that she had walked into someone. Uncle Crow would have been disappointed. "Ah!" she squealed as she fell on the floor. "Oh my butt," she mentally groaned. Police station floors were hard. "Are you okay?" a voice asked in concern. Ruby looked up to see a boy her age looking down at her in concern. He had bright spiky blonde hair, tan skin and 3 marks that looked suspiciously like whiskers on both of his cheeks. His eyes were bright sky blue. But there was something in his eyes. Something almost. He knelt down and held a hand out to her to take. "Yeah, I am," Ruby said lightly as she grabbed his hand. That was when she noticed the cuffs around his wrists. Wonder what he's in for, she thought. She chose not to comment, she didn't want to be rude. Plus, he seemed like a nice guy. "Glad you're okay," the boy said amicably. "Hey kid, come on." The 2 teenagers turned to see a cop looking at the boy. "Or do you want to stay here all night?" "What if I do?" the boy said smugly. The cop snorted at the prospect as if he found the idea ridiculous. He merely turned around and headed to the front desk. As Ruby watched them walk off, she noticed the tail swishing behind the boy, indicating his status as Faunus. "Wait, I need to head to the front desk too." Ruby realized and began to follow after the 2. The boy turned around to look at Ruby as she approached them. "So we meet again," he said dramatically. Ruby merely quirked an eyebrow at the boy as she began to put her signature down to receive her stuff. "Alright kid, give me your hands," the officer said. "Let me get those cuffs off." "Don't bother," the boy said. He held his arms up to reveal the cuff off of his wrists and in his hands. "Already got him," he said cheekily. The cop at the desk snorted while the other one merely rolled his eyes. "Of course you did." Line break. The night air was cool. It was fairly silent minus the occasional car that passed by. "So," the boy said as he continued to walk next to Ruby. "If I didn't know any better I'd think you were following me." "No," Ruby said hotly. She was glad it was dark. That way her companion couldn't see the blush on her cheeks. It had been a pure coincidence that the boy had walked out of the station first and Ruby followed moments later, and the Bullhead station was in the exact same direction of the boy's direction. "Whatever you say," the boy said, "name's Naruto by the way. Naruto Uzumaki." Ruby rose, Ruby introduced herself to Naruto. "Nice to meet ya," Naruto said nonchalantly with his hands behind his head. "So where are you headed?" "Bullhead station," Ruby said. "I need to get home. I live on Patch." That was then that she noticed that Naruto had completely stopped walking. "What wrong?" she asked. He looked at her uncertainly. "You do know that the station closes early on Sundays." "What?" "They close at 9 today," Naruto explained. "No." Ruby quickly pulled out her scroll and opened it frantically. "Where were you holding that?" Naruto asked. Ruby chose to ignore him. She was too busy looking at the time. 9:23. The semicolon was blinking as if mocking her. Ruby slowly slid to the ground. "No." "Ruby?" Naruto asked. "What am I going to do?" Ruby asked sadly. "I don't have anywhere to stay." Naruto began, but Ruby didn't hear him. "I don't have enough to stay at a hotel for the night," Ruby continued. "There is. And even if I did, I don't think any place that checks out rooms to 15-year-olds. If you let me." "What am I going to do?" "Ruby?" Naruto shouted. Ruby looked at him slightly startled. Naruto took a deep breath. "I know a place that you can stay." Ruby looked at him in surprise. "Really?" she asked, hope clearly in her voice. "Yeah," Naruto confirmed as he knelt down and held a hand out to her for her to take. Ruby took it and Naruto lifted her up a moment later. "Come on," Naruto said. Then he began to walk in the direction they were heading to in the first place. He held onto Ruby's hand the whole time. Line break. When they finally stopped, they were in front of a building with about 10 stories high. There were a few lights on and indicating people in the building. "Is this a hotel?" Ruby thought. Damn it," Naruto growled. "The front lights are broken again. If that lazy bastard even bothered to get it fixed." Ruby looked at him in confusion but didn't have time to comment as she was being dragged to the entrance. After they entered, Ruby was met with a nice lounge. There was a thick pillar made out of stones in the center with a fireplace at the bottom with entrances on all 4 sides. Above the fireplace were televisions on each side of the pillar. Cushioned seats were surrounding the pillar. In the corner was a desk that Ruby assumed was where checking in and out took place. It was currently unoccupied, but Ruby assumed the person would return soon. Directly across from the check-in desk was a small room. The lights were off, indicating it was closed. If Ruby had to guess, it was probably the candy store. There were a few people sitting around the pillar. Some were watching TV, others were reading, and others were talking to each other in a low voice. But there weren't that many. And again there was this atmosphere. "Hey, Naruto." Someone interrupted Ruby. She looked at her companion, who looked scared. "Where have you been?" the voice said. Ruby turned to see a man with black hair and a ponytail, dark eyes and a scar that ran across the bridge of his nose. He was storming towards them. Naruto let go of Ruby's hand and began to back up slowly. "Sorry, Iruka," Naruto apologized. "I had something to take care of and it took a bit longer than expected." The man named Iruka was giving Naruto a critical eye. "You were arrested again, weren't you?" he said. Naruto looked to the side and began to sweat profusely. "Busted?" "He was helping me," Ruby spoke up. She didn't know why she did it, but she didn't want to see her new friend get in trouble. Iruka turned to look at Ruby. He gave her a critical eye and Ruby began to sweat at the man's look. "You see, I needed help delivering a few packages to a customer," Ruby said hesitantly. "I got lost and Naruto decided to help me out when he saw I was in trouble. And after the delivery I found out that the bullheads were closed for the night, so I had no way of getting home. So Naruto decided to help me find a place to stay." Rule number 5 about getting away with something, as Yang said. Always put a seed of truth in a lie. Iruka continued to glare at her. Naruto looked at her in shock. Iruka turned back to Naruto, who was standing at attention. "Is this true?" he asked with narrowed eyes. "Yeah," Naruto said. "So I was wondering if it was cool if she stayed here for the night." Iruka raised a single eyebrow before sighing. "Alright. Well, you better hurry and get ready, you're on soon." "Alright," Naruto said. Then a moment later he took off in a direction. Ruby and Iruka watched him leave along with the other occupants. "I know you lied for him," Iruka said. "Crap." "Well, partially anyway," Iruka continued. He stared at Ruby with an unreadable look. "I don't know why you did, but I know he appreciated it," Iruka chuckled. "If I may ask," Ruby said, trying to change the subject. She wasn't very smooth at it. "Where is Naruto going?" Iruka looked at her in shock. "He didn't tell you?" Ruby shook her head. A smile came across his face. "Follow me." Iruka began walking towards the elevator, Ruby right behind him. When the elevator, Iruka pressed a button and they began to descend a level down. When they arrived, Ruby was met with a room larger than the lobby. The room had a railway of sorts. On the right side of the wall was a bar and on the left was nothing. There was a doorway with the word staff only on them. There were stairs that lead down to a slightly lower level that had tables and booths all around. At the farthest end from Ruby was a stage. "Take a seat at the bar," Iruka said. "The show's going to start soon." Ruby hesitated but made her way to the bar. She sat down and Iruka got on the other side. "What are we doing here?" Ruby asked. A moment later music began to play. "You're about to see," Iruka said as he motioned his head to the stage. Ruby turned around and was shocked to see Naruto standing there as the curtains opened up. He was wearing a black button-up shirt with an orange vest over it. He had on black slacks and a pair of black dress shoes. He was holding a wireless mic in his hand and he was looking down. The rest of the stage was dark with a single spotlight on him. Ruby could tell though that the instruments were on the stage though. How the players could see Ruby had no idea. Naruto slowly looked up at the audience as the instruments continued. "Looking out." Naruto began softly. "Across the night time." Naruto swung his arm out and looked to the side. Ruby looked on in mild shock. His voice was beautiful. "The city winks a sleepless eye." Naruto looks out at the audience and gives a small wink with a small smile. Hear her voice. Ruby listened on as Naruto continued to sing, but there was something off. Naruto puts his hand to his ear as if hearing something. "Shake my window." Naruto brings his hand back down and does a spin. Sweet seducing sighs. Naruto brought his hand to his mouth and brought it forward in front of him as if releasing something from his mouth. "Let me out." Naruto does a windmill with his arm before pointing backwards with his thumb. Some of the older couples chuckle at the display. Into the night time. Ruby looked at him, trying to figure out what it was that she was hearing. What was it about this that made her feel off? "Four walls won't hold me tonight." Naruto holds his hand up and shows 4 fingers as he shakes his head. "If this down." Naruto points to the picture of Vale in the corner. "Is just an apple." Naruto holds his hand out as if he was holding something up. "Then let me take a bite." Naruto brought the hand to his face and takes a bit out of the air after singing the verse. "If they say." Naruto looks forward and points at the audience as if they were the they. Why, tell them that is human nature." Naruto looks to the right side of the audience. Then he shrugs his shoulders as if that's what explained it. Why does he do me that way? He points at one of the older couples and points to the man. He then puts his hand to his mouth as if whispering to the woman of the couple. The woman giggles lightly while the man shrugs his shoulders going along with it. If they say. He turns to the left side of the audience to repeat what he did on the right. Why, tell em that is human nature. Ruby looks on and something begins to swell up inside of her. Why does he do me that way? Slowly she gets up from her seat at the bar and begins to walk to the rail. Reaching out. Naruto jumps off of the stage and begins to walk around the tables. To touch a stranger. He holds his hand out to a lady who was sitting by herself. He gives her a charming smile and kisses her hand. Electric eyes are everywhere. He moves his arm in an arc and does a spin and looks at everyone in the audience. See the girl. He spots Ruby who is now standing up. He points towards her. She knows I'm watching. Ruby looks in shock at being singled out all of a sudden. She then notices that the audience is focused on her. She likes the way I stare. No, she didn't. Ruby looks on in shock and feels her face heat up for a moment. She begins to shake her head vigorously causing all of the other occupants to chuckle. If they say. Naruto smiles at her for a moment before turning back to the rest of the audience. Why, tell em that is human nature. He sits at a table occupied by two couples and sings to them. Why does he do me that way? He looks at the couples and begins to shake his finger as if disagreeing. If they say. He gets up and slowly makes his way back to the stage. Why, tell em that is human nature. Ruby felt a small tear make its way down her face. She wiped it off slowly and looked at it. Why does he do me that way? Why am I crying? Ruby thought as she looked down at her not slightly wet hand. I like living this way. Ruby looks back at Naruto as if hoping that he would have all of the answers. I like loving this way. He put his hand to his chest and directly over his heart. Why? Naruto sings and closes his eyes. He sways with the beat. Looking out. Ruby looks at Naruto and something clicks with her. Across the morning. Naruto repeats the motion he did earlier. He did that indicated the night. A city's heart begins to beat. Naruto begins to pump his chest in and out to indicate a heartbeat. Reaching out. He looks at Ruby again. I touch her shoulder. Ruby stares back as he reaches out to her and Ruby sees it. She sees everything. I'm dreaming of the street. Naruto turns from her and begins to look at the audience once again. Yeah, so I didn't want to do the chorus 4 to 5 times, so I'm going to do it once. Please don't hate me if they say. Ruby understands completely. Why, tell em that is human nature. She understands what had been bothering her the whole time. Why does he do me that way? She understood what had felt off about the song. If they say. It had sounded. Why, tell em that is human nature. Sad. Why does he do me that way? Ruby let another tear fall from her face as she looked at Naruto who was disappearing behind the closing curtain. The audience clapped, but Ruby continued to look at the stage in silence. Line break. Iruka took Ruby to the back of the stage where Naruto was. Just head down this hall and you'll see him, Iruka said. I have to head back. He gave one last wave to Ruby before heading back out. Ruby slowly made her way towards the back of the stage. When she arrived, Naruto gave a big smile and waved. Hey, I hope you enjoyed the performance, he said. Ruby just stared at him. It's the job that I have here, I really enjoy it, he continued to explain. And thanks for helping me out with Iruka earlier. Ruby stared. I know he seems mean, but he's really a nice guy. Ruby stared. Hey Ruby, are you okay? Naruto asked as he noticed that the girl had said nothing. Ruby didn't say anything. She walked towards him and before Naruto could react wrapped her arms around him. Naruto's eyes widened at the sudden action, not sure how to react. Ruby? Naruto asked. Ruby pulled back from her hug and looked at him dead in the eye. Don't be sad, she said with a small smile. Naruto's eyes widened in shock. I know we just met, but I probably don't have any right to say that, but I just felt that there was a sadness there while you were singing. Naruto continued to stare. You said you enjoy singing, so I just think that maybe you should truly enjoy it more, Ruby continued as she looked down. She was a little out of her comfort zone here. I'm sure everything will be fine. She looked up at Naruto who was looking at her as if she had just grown a second head. Then a smile made its way onto his face. He chuckled for a minute. Hey. Ruby said. She wasn't trying to be funny. Sorry, Naruto said. Thank you Ruby, he said as he smiled at her. And Ruby could tell that this one had been a more genuine one. Ruby decided that she really liked his smile. Chapter 2. Geronimo. Ruby Rose was in bliss. Her bed was particularly comfortable today. Like seriously comfortable. I don't have anywhere to be today, she thought dreamily. Sleeping in late wouldn't be so bad. She turned over in the bed. She felt something warm in front of her. Wei's here to keep me company, she thought. She reached out to wrap around her dog and found that she had to reach farther than she normally did. Zwei, you've grown, she thought. Then Zwei wrapped his arm around Ruby to hold her as well. But boy Zwei, Ruby moaned out. Zwei. Zwei groaned out. Wait. Ruby's eyes shot open. The first thing she saw was a chest. The chest was hard, so it wasn't her sister's. And she was too old to sleep in the same bed as her dad. So whose chest was it? Ruby slowly looked up. She laid eyes on Naruto, who was slowly waking up as well. He opened his eyes and looked down at Ruby. "Mornin'," he said groggily. Ruby just stared up at him with wide eyes. Then her voice caught up with her. "Gi-i-i-i-i." Naruto sat up in shock at the sudden alarm that went off next to his ear. "Ruby, what's wrong?" Naruto asked in alarm. "Filth. Field," Ruby shouted and began to back away from him as fast as she could. Unfortunately, she forgot that she was on a bed. She began to fall backwards. "Hey, watch it," Naruto said as he reached for her. Ruby reached out and grabbed his hand. Naruto pulled with all of his strength. Ruby ended up crashing against him with enough force to push him down onto the bed. She sat up on top of him and looked down at him. "Are you okay?" Naruto asked in concern. Before Ruby could react, however, Naruto's door slammed open. "Naruto, what hell?" A gruff voice yelled. "Are you?" The voice trailed off. Naruto and Ruby turned to look at a boy with spiky black hair about their age. He had two red upside-down triangles on his face. Behind the boy was another one with his hair tied up, making it look like a pineapple. Ruby and Naruto stared at them for a good moment. From the boy's view, all they could see was a girl on top of Naruto. Naruto, who didn't have a shirt on. The rest of their bodies were covered by the blanket. They stared at each other for a good moment. "Troublesome," the pineapple head boy said before simply walking off. The other boy slowly closed the door. "Sorry for disturbing you," he mumbled out as the door closed. The two occupants in the room stared at the door, not saying anything. Then Ruby whipped her head back to look at Naruto. Naruto looked into her eyes and knew he was screwed. "Now Ruby," Naruto began anxiously. Ruby brought one of her fists back and brought it down to Naruto's face. "Line break." Naruto was sitting on the ground. His face was sporting a black eye. Ruby was currently in the restroom grooming herself and taking a shower. "No peeking," she had yelled. That had been 30 minutes ago. "What did I even do?" Naruto grumbled. He would be lying if he said he wasn't irked about getting hit. "All we did was sleep in the same bed, my legs are falling asleep." Suddenly the door opened slightly. Naruto looked up and saw Ruby poking her head out. "Where are my clothes?" she said. Naruto looked at her in confusion. "In the wash." "Ruby, do you not remember what happened last night?" Ruby looked at him weirdly. Then everything came back to her. She had been really tired, so it had been a bit of a blur. After they had gone back upstairs, Naruto had said she could stay in his room. He had given Ruby some clothes to wear and waited for her to change. After that, Ruby had laid down and fallen asleep immediately. "Here," Naruto said as he reached into his dresser and handed her an orange shirt and a pair of black shorts. "I would hand you a pair of my boxers, but I don't want to get hit again." "That's right, Buster," Ruby said. "Dude, in this case I don't mind," Ruby said with a small blush. Naruto looked at her weird before chuckling. He reached into his drawer and grabbed a pair of boxers. He handed the clothes to Ruby. She closed the door and got changed. After she changed, she opened the door and came face to face with Naruto, who was opening the door to the hall. He looked back at her. "Wanna get some breakfast?" Ruby nodded and the two exited the room and began walking down the hall. "Mornin' Naruto," a dark-skinned woman said as she walked past them. "Mornin' Lana," he greeted back. "Where's AJ?" "Archer's changing her," the woman said. "I'm gonna go make sure he hasn't done something stupid." "Okay," Naruto said. "See you later." "Hey Naruto, you heading to breakfast?" a teenage girl older than the masked. "Yeah, Kim." "Well, you better hurry, Ron's already down there," she said as she passed by them. Suddenly they heard a yell. Ruby turned around to see a boy with brown hair run by them at fast speeds in a panic. "Stay away from me," he screamed as he continued running. A moment later, Ruby jumped into Naruto's arms as a giant ogre of a man with blue hair ran by them. "Appa. Come back, Kenichi," the dark-skinned giant yelled. "Apachai, stop harassing Kenichi so early in the morning," a girl said as she ran by them. She stopped, however, when she spotted Naruto and Ruby. She turned and bowed. "Sorry about this, Naruto," she said apologetically. "It's fine, Naruto said. "At least he's not chazzing me this time." She looked at him with a grateful smile before continuing to run after the others. "Those are some of the guests who stay here," Naruto explained to Ruby. "Ah," she said in understanding. It was a moment later that she realized that she was still in Naruto's arms. She quickly got out of them and the two began to walk again. "So what's the name of this place?" Ruby asked. It had been dark, so she couldn't see the name of the hotel. Naruto looked ready to answer but was interrupted by a shout. Naruto. Naruto and Ruby turned around to see a girl with pink hair running at them. What's this I hear about a girl being in your room? Naruto began turning pale. Sakura, wait, I can explain, he said weakly. Shinaro, the girl named Sakura, yelled as she leapt and socked Naruto straight in the face. The punch apparently had enough force behind it to send him flying. Literally. He skidded across the floor and landed on the other end of the hall. Damn pervert. Sakura growled out. Ruby merely looked on in shock at what had just happened. Sakura turned her attention to Ruby and looked her up and down. Ruby looked positively nervous at being observed. When Sakura made eye contact with her, something flashed in her eyes. Almost like she recognized her. But it had disappeared as fast as it appeared that Ruby thought she might have imagined it. Sakura reached out and grabbed Ruby's hands into hers. Did he do anything to you? She asked. Did he touch you anywhere? Just tell me and I'll pound him into the ground. Ruby said in surprise. I didn't even do anything, Naruto wheezed out, still on the ground. Line break. So the boy with the triangle tattoos on his face began. How was it? We didn't do anything, Kiba, Naruto grumbled out as he sat down at a table with a plate of food in front of him. Sure, Kiba said, clearly not believing him. Kiba, stop harassing Naruto, another boy commanded. He was wearing a pair of shades making his eyes unreadable. If Naruto said he didn't do anything, then he didn't do anything. Thank you, Shino, Naruto said happily. Why, you may ask, Shino continued. Because Naruto is a bragger, so if he had done something then he would be boasting about it. Fuck you, Shino, Naruto growled, a tick mark pulsating on his head. Troublesome, do you all have to be so loud in the morning, the boy with the pineapple-shaped hair grumbled as he sat down next to them. I'm tired. Shikamaru, you're always tired, Kiba pointed out. Troublesome, Shikamaru grumbled. Why is it that you all insist on being so loud in the morning? The group turned to see another boy walking over to them. He sat down next to Naruto a moment later. Especially you, Yusura and Kachi. Fuck you, team, Naruto growled. I'm not in the mood for any of your shit. Whatever, dope. Sasuke will kick your ass, Naruto said. HN. Oh yeah, wanna bet? Naruto said as he began butting heads with Sasuke. There they go again, Kiba said as he looked at the two. Troublesome. Are they fighting again? A red-haired boy asked as he walked to the table with another boy with brown hair. Seems like it, a boy with brown hair and a long ponytail and wide eyes said as he walked next to them. Hey Gaara, Kankuro, and Niji, a chunky boy said. He was already sitting at the table. Rare to see you guys this early. Morning, Chaoji, Kankuro greeted. What are they fighting about now, he said, pointing to Naruto and Sasuke. Naruto had a girl in his room, Kiba answered. Speaking of which, where is your lady friend Naruto? Kiba asked, gaining his attention. Sakura took her, Naruto said, taking his attention away from Sasuke. She's probably sitting with the others now. As one, the boys turned to look at the table that was occupied by a group of 7 girls. In the middle was Ruby, who looked completely out of her element. So who was he? A girl with blonde hair asked Ruby, who's sitting on her other side. Ruby looked at her in confusion. Huh? Naruto, the girl said. Be no pig, stop harassing her, Sakura scolded. Oh, shut up, forehead, you're just as curious as I am, Ino growled as static began emitting between the two. Will you two stop before you scare the poor girl, a girl said with her head tied up in 2 buns. Yeah, Tenten's right, another blonde girl said. Her hair was tied up in 4 small ponytails. Then a sly look came across her face. Besides, by the way she squealed this morning, it's safe to say Naruto was very satisfying. As soon as the words left the girl's mouth, Ruby fully understood what the girls were talking about. Ruby became as red as a tomato at the implications. Tamari, another girl sighed. You're not helping. Oh come on, Mitsuri, the girl sitting by Mitsuri said with a smile. We're all girls here. That doesn't make it better, Yukata, Mitsuri said. We didn't, Ruby began. We didn't do anything, she finally got out. All the girls stopped talking to look at her. We just slept in the same bed is all, she continued. I had been really tired, so I didn't really remember when I woke up, so I was shocked to see him there. All the girls looked at her as she finished explaining. Tsuuri, Tamari said sarcastically, breaking the tension. It's true, Ruby whined, causing the other girls to giggle. She doesn't seem to be doing good over there, Kiba pointed out. I noticed, Naruto grumbled out. Line break. Yeah, Yang, I'll be home in a little bit, Ruby said as she looked at her sister in her scroll. Thanks for covering for me with Dad. Anytime, little sis, a blonde 17-year-old girl said as she talked to Ruby. Just remember to not stay out too late again. I won't, Ruby promised. I'll see you soon, she finished before closing her scroll. So everything's worked out? Naruto asked as the two walked through the Bullhead Station lobby. Yeah, Ruby said. My flight's in a few minutes, plus I really need to get home. Oh cool, Naruto said. Sorry about the girls. They didn't torture you or anything. Nah, nothing like that, Ruby said. They were just curious, Ruby finished as a blush returned to her face. Yeah, that sounds about right, Naruto said. Flight 634 heading to patch departing in 5 minutes, a voice on the intercom said. Oh, that's me, Ruby said. I'll see you later, Naruto, Ruby said before walking off. See you later, Ruby, Naruto said. He looked back for a moment as if to ask something but decided against it. He proceeded to head out the door and headed back to the hotel. Line break. I can't believe you got accepted into Beacon. Ruby groaned as Yang was looking at her excitedly. She had hoped to get home before the call, but she had been too late. To say her sister and her father had been surprised would be the understatement of the century. How did you manage that? Her father Taeyang asked her. I beat up some goons, and Professor Osborne caught it on camera, Ruby said simply. Well, I'm proud of you, Ruby, Taeyang said with a smile. Wait till I tell Crow, he's not going to believe this. Great, Ruby said with fake enthusiasm. Thankfully her family was still too excited at the prospect to notice her worry. Hey, I'm gonna go talk to mom for a bit, I'll be back later. Okay, Ruby, Yang said. Ruby proceeded to walk out of the house and walk to her mom's grave. What am I gonna do, she thought sadly. I'm not ready to go to Beacon. I'm not even the top of my class. Ruby was average compared to some of her peers due to her school rank. The only thing special about her was the fact that she had a personal mentor, which was her uncle. There was nothing special about her. When she had arrived at the grave, she sat down in front of it. Hey mom, Ruby greeted. Seeing you 2 days in a row, huh? Her answer was the blowing wind. I got accepted into Beacon, she said. I beat up some thieves, and apparently the headmaster saw it and thought it was impressive enough to admit me to Beacon 2 years early. Ruby began to fiddle with her hands. I don't know what to do, mom. I don't think I'm ready yet, she whispered silently. I made a new friend, she continued. He's really nice and easily excitable. Then again I am too, Ruby said with a small laugh. He helped me out yesterday when I didn't have a place to stay. He's a really good singer, she looked up at the grave. But there's a sadness he has. It's subtle and you couldn't tell when you look at him, but it's there. Hopefully it'll go away. I wish you were here, mom, Ruby said sadly. I would really like someone to talk to about all of this. And she sat there in front of her mother's grave. Her only companion was the wind that blew softly. Line break. So when are we gonna see her again? Sakura asked Naruto as the two of them and Sasuke were eating lunch. See who? Naruto asked in confusion. She's talking about the girl from the other day, you idiot, Sasuke grunted out. You call an idiot bastard. Naruto challenged as the two began butting heads. No fighting at the table. Sakura scolded. I don't know, Naruto said. We didn't exchange scroll numbers. It had been 3 days since Ruby had left the hotel. And for 3 days all of Naruto's friends had been harassing him about her and when they would see her again. Sakura, can we drop this? Naruto asked. I guess, Sakura said. But you should take responsibility for what you did. Oh, for the love of nothing happened. Naruto groaned out. It had spread around the entire hotel that Naruto had done the dirty deed with a girl. He had been receiving flack, compliments, lectures, and beatings for that rumor. He had tried to explain that nothing had happened, but no one would listen to him. The only one who hadn't really said anything on the matter was Sasuke, and that was because he genuinely didn't give two shits. And Naruto was thankful to his friend for that. Sure it didn't dope, Sasuke mumbled out before he took a bite out of a tomato slice. Scratch that. Eat a Sasuke, Naruto said. But I mean, I can't believe you would just ditch her like that, Naruto, Sakura scolded. That's a terrible thing to do to a girl. But nothing happened, Naruto complained. Whatever you say, Sasuke commented lazily. But you could have at least locked the door or something. You're just mad because you haven't gotten any. Naruto retorted angrily. Then his brain caught up with his mouth. Sasuke whipped his head around in surprise. Ha! Sakura shouted in triumph. No wait. Naruto began. Screw his mouth. And screw Sasuke for getting him angry. Naruto, you need to take responsibility, Sakura scolded. You're just mad cause she has a bigger chest than you. What? Naruto had turned as white as snow. Damn his mouth. Sakura, wait, Naruto began. Naruto looked over his shoulder and noticed that Sasuke had disappeared. Naruto. Naruto shivered as he turned around. His eyes grew big with fright as Sakura's eyes began to glow. Ah! Naruto yelled. Then he took off running. Sakura followed him a moment later. Fuck his mouth. Line break. Ruby Rose was lost. There was no denying that fact. She gotten up early and after big breakfast and a sparring match with her uncle, who had come back from completing his mission, she headed back out to Vale. Her destination was the hotel to go see Naruto again. She hadn't exchanged scroll contacts with him and she enjoyed his company. But about 5 minutes after landing in Vale, she realized that she had no idea where the hotel was. About 10 minutes later when she tried to ask somebody for directions she realized she didn't know the name of the hotel. And about 15 minutes later she realized she was completely hopelessly and utterly lost. "What am I gonna do?" Ruby cried comically. "I have no idea where I'm going." As she looked down she noticed a large shadow appear over her. She turned around to see a man looking down at her. A very scary man. He had this intimidating aura about him and the lower half of his face was covered in bandages. And his eyes seemed to be glaring her into a hole. "Eeeeee!" Ruby screeched at the very scary man. "Ruby?" Ruby turned around to see none other than Aruka and a teenager walking up to her. "Hey, good to see you again," he greeted amicably. He was thrown off when Ruby began to bow to him. "My savior," she said, weeping out comical tears of joy. She then hid behind Aruka to stay away from the mummy man. Aruka's sweat dropped at the display. "Aruka," a teenager with long black hair spoke up. "Who is this?" he asked. "Oh, this is Ruby," Aruka introduced the girl. "Ruby, this is Haku." "Nice to meet you," Haku said, but Ruby wasn't paying attention. Her eyes were focused on the giant scary man that was slowly approaching them. "Protect me," she squeaked as she hid behind Aruka. "Zabuza, please stop scaring her," Aruka asked, while Haku giggled. A few moments later the four were walking back to the hotel. Ruby made sure to stay far away from Zabuza. "So how have you been?" Aruka asked. "I'm doing fine," Ruby said. "When does school start back up for you?" "Next week," Ruby answered. "What about Naruto and the others?" "We're homeschooled," Haku explained. "Though I think that some of us are going to try and enter Beacon when we're old enough." "That's nice," Ruby said. "I can't wait to see them there." "What do you mean?" Aruka asked. Ruby began nervously. "I got into Beacon this year." "Wow, really?" Aruka asked, surprised. "Well, congratulations," he said. "That is most impressive, Ruby," Haku said happily. "Thank you," Ruby said while looking down so her blush couldn't be seen. "By the way, what's the name of the hotel?" "Oh, it's called Konoha," Aruka answered. Ruby nodded in understanding. That's when she turned and noticed the hotel in front of them. "It's a really nice," Aruka trailed off as he opened the door. "I'm sorry," Naruto yelled as he passed them as fast he could. "Get back here." A moment later Sakura could be seen running after him. "Appa? Are we playing tag?" Apachai asked as he hopped out of nowhere. "Apachai wants to play too." Apachai-sensei, I don't think," Kenichi began. "Nonsense," another man spoke up. "I think it's a good way to train. Kenichi, avoid Apachai for 20 minutes. If he gets you it starts over." Ready, start." Apachai leapt to Kenichi. Kenichi yelled before running in the other direction. "Appaya." Apachai yelled before running after them. "Damned it, flame brain, that was my piece of chicken you ate," a black-haired boy yelled as he threw a pink-haired boy across the hall. "Screw you, stripper." The pink-haired boy shouted as he rebounded and leapt back at the other boy. "First come first serve." He kicked the boy who ducked in time. The kick ended up hitting Kiba as the elevator door opened. "Watch it," Kiba shouted as he tackled the pink-haired boy. The black-haired boy joined into the fight a moment later. Suddenly an adult tiger came running by and there was a man holding a baby riding on top of it. "Boo-hoo-hoo," the man shouted as they passed by. "Archer, get my daughter off of that tiger." Lana yelled as she ran past chasing after the tiger. "Bicka-bicka-boo. Pusha." Two boys went flying by on a rocket. "KP, help." A blonde boy screamed as he was being dragged by the rocket. "Dweebs," Kim shouted as she swung by trying to grab the blonde. "Let go of Ron." The four looked on at the mess that was now the lobby. "Place," Haruka finished. Suddenly Naruto landed in front of Ruby. He looked like he was going to continue running, but he noticed that Haruka was back and had brought a guest. "Ruby?" Naruto asked. Before Ruby could answer, someone landed on Naruto. Hard. "You didn't think you would get away with it, did you?" Sakura shouted as she began rain down her righteous female fury on the poor faunus. "Line break." "So how have you been?" Naruto asked Ruby as he sat down on the stage. His face covered in bruises. "I've been good," Ruby answered. "You?" "Could be better, obviously," Naruto said. "True," Ruby said with a sweat drop. "Well, that's what you get," Sakura spoke up as she made her way to the stage with Sasuke. "Umbus," Sasuke muttered. "Ruby, I didn't introduce them last time you were here," Naruto pointed out. He pointed to Sakura. "This is Sakura Haruno, she's the drummer." "Don't forget that I work in the nurse station too," Sakura mentioned as she smiled at Ruby. "Nice to meet you," Ruby said. "Nice to see you again too," Sakura said with a wave. Though her eyes began to drift to Ruby's chest. "They are bigger," she realized with devastation. "I'm not small. I'm just average," she told herself, though she couldn't help the tears that began to fall down her face comically. Is she okay?" Ruby asked as she noticed Sakura crying. "Yeah," Naruto said. Anyway, the bastard next to her is Sasuke, he said as he pointed to Sasuke. He's the musician. Musician? Ruby asked. Sasuke here can play any instrument, Sakura explained. He prefers keyboard or guitar though. Oh, that's cool, Ruby commented. Nice to meet you. HN, Sasuke said as he walked past her and hopped on the stage. Hey team, Naruto shouted as he grabbed Sasuke's shirt. She's saying hello. Get off me dope, Sasuke said as he shoved Naruto. Well, Naruto didn't like that. You wanna go? Naruto shouted, his eyes wide in anger. Please, you can't hurt me. Sasuke countered, his eyes wide as well. Wanna bet? Naruto shouted as he grabbed Sasuke's shirt. Yeah. Sasuke shouted back as he grabbed Naruto's shirt and the two began butting heads. Ruby looked at the exchange in shock and concern. Don't mind them, Sakura said, noticing Ruby's concern. They've always been like this, she said as she smiled at the two. Truth be told, they're best friends. Ha. You missed, team. I won this time, dope. They have a weird way of showing it, Ruby commented as she looked at the dust cloud and limbs that had become Naruto and Sasuke. You get used to it, Sakura giggled fondly. Okay, that's enough, you two. Ruby and Sakura looked up to see a man with gravity-defying silver hair. Seriously, how did his hair do that? He was wearing a headband that leaned down to the left, covering his left eye. He was wearing a green vest with a dark blue button-up shirt and a pair of black slacks. Under his button-up shirt was another shirt or something as it came all the way above his mouth, covering it. You guys need to start practicing, the man said with an eye smile as he grabbed Naruto and Sasuke by the back of their shirts and lifted them effortlessly. The two continued to glare at each other before huffing simultaneously and looking away from each other. Hey Kakashi, Sakura greeted. Hello Sakura, the man greeted back. This is Kakashi, Sakura said to Ruby. He's the head bartender here. Don't forget your biggest fan, he teased as he gave an eye smile. Kakashi is usually down here with us when we practice, so he always knows what we sound like, Sakura explained. He even gives us pointers and suggestions and on what to sing for the atmosphere, depending on the hotel guests' moods. Well, enough about me, Kakashi said. Who's the young lady next to you? Oh, this is Ruby, Sakura introduced. Then she gave a sly smile. She was the one Naruto brought home. Oh. Kakashi said, understanding. You're the girl that our resident singer had relations with. Huh? Ruby asked, confused. Her ear perked up as Sakura whispered into it. Ruby turned red almost instantly. We didn't do anything. Naruto and Ruby shouted at the same time. Line break. So I heard you were all homeschooled, Ruby said to the others while they were tuning the instruments. Yeah, Naruto answered as he sat down next to Ruby. It may seem boring, but since there's so many of us, it's basically an entire class. Makes sense, Ruby said. How many of you are there? The total of 21, Naruto said. Temari and Haku are the oldest. They both work in the casino, Naruto said as he began counting off all of the young adults. Casino? Ruby asked. Yeah, there's 6 sub-levels under the lobby, Naruto explained. First there's the dining level, which is where we're at, then the casino right under here, then there's the kids area next, they have arcade games and a daycare center for the toddlers. Then there's the aquatic park under that, Haku works there as well. All of that is underground? Ruby asked uncertainly. I know it's hard to believe, Naruto said. But the founder really wanted this place to be the best. But what if it collapses? Ruby asked. Oh, trust me when I say that that's almost impossible, Naruto said with a chuckle. The founder made sure this place was airtight, Naruto said. Ruby looked at him skeptically but conceded. Okay, then there's the arena, Naruto began. Arena? Ruby asked excitedly. Like to fight or train? Yeah, Naruto answered. We get huntsmen and huntresses here too, so we have a place for them to test their skill, to keep in shape. Can you show it to me? Ruby asked, sparkles in her eyes. Yeah, sure, Naruto said. And under that is the maintenance level. Usually the problems around the hotel can be fixed there, but sometimes not. Makes sense, Ruby said. Where do the others work? Well, there's Kankuro, Lee, Niji, and Tenten. Tenten and Kankuro work in maintenance, they make sure that everything works in the hotel. Lee's in exercise with Guy, they're really pumped about their job. Their class takes place in the arena. Niji works in the casino along with Haku, Naruto explained. Then there's us, Naruto said as he pointed to Sasuke and Sakura and himself. Me and Sasuke are usually here with Kakashi, but Sakura works in the infirmary as well. Kiba works with the animals with his older sister and mom. Shino Isabella Chouji works in the kitchen, so he's usually back there, Naruto said as he pointed to the staff-only door she had gone through the other day to reach the back of the stage. Then there's Gaara, who also works in the casino, and Shikamaru, who works as a doorman. He was too lazy to do anything else, and he still complains about opening doors. Ruby giggled slightly at Naruto's antics at describing his friend. Then there's Mitsuri and Yukata who work as housekeepers. They clean the rooms and everything. Finally there's Ino who works in the garden. Garden? Yeah, there's a plot of land in the back, Naruto explained. That's where the animals usually are and Ino makes sure the plants look nice. Her and Kiba argue a lot when one of the animals messes it up. Finally, there are the young ones. Konohamaru, Mogi, Yuden, and Hanabi. They're all around the same age. Kono and Yuden work with Shino as bellops, while Mogi and Hanabi are housekeepers. And that's everybody who works here? Ruby asked. Oh no, there are way more people, Naruto snorted. There's Kotetsu, Izumo, Kurenai, Guy, Zabuza, and many more. Those were just the kids. Ah, Ruby said. What about you, where are you going to school? Naruto asked. Beacon, Ruby answered simply. Naruto turned a guitar string to far making it sound off-key. Really? Naruto asked in surprise. Yeah. No way. Sakura shouted as she ran next to them. But you're the same age as us. I got accepted early, Ruby said. That's amazing. Naruto said with a smile on his face. How did you manage that? The others turned around to see Sasuke had suddenly walked up to them. Apparently he was also surprised at the revelation. Though you couldn't tell by his facial expression. Yeah, Ruby, tell us, Naruto begged. Sakura began nodding her head vigorously in agreement. So Ruby told them. She told them about how she fought against the thieves and how she ran into the huntress who took her to the police station where she met Ozpin, who then said she could come to his school early. Wait, was that the same day I met you? Naruto asked. Yeah, Ruby answered. So that's how you two met, Sakura said as she looked between Naruto and Ruby. Yeah, you can guess what happened next, Ruby said. Well, congrats Ruby, Naruto cheered. You must be a really good fighter to impress the headmaster. That's just it though, Ruby said. I don't think I'm ready. Huh? Sakura asked. I mean, my grades are average at Signal and I'm not even the best fighter in my class, Ruby said. How am I gonna compare to a bunch of other studentess who are 2 years older than me, she moaned out sadly at the end. The other three looked at the clearly dejected girl. They all looked at each other and an unspoken message went between them. Naruto put a hand on Ruby's shoulder to comfort her. Ruby, I think I know exactly what you need, he said with a smile. What's that? Ruby asked sadly. The song. Huh? Just listen and let me show you, Naruto said as he took her hand and led her off the stage. He brought her to the dance floor while Sakura got her a chair to sit down in. After she was seated, Naruto got back on the stage and caught the acoustic guitar Sasuke tossed to him. Ruby looked on quietly as Naruto adjusted the mic stand. He looked at Sasuke and Sakura, who both nodded to show they were ready. Then he began to play the guitar at a fast pace while Sakura began to make a beat with the kick drum. Sasuke provided background with the keyboard. Ruby looked at them in wonder. Naruto looked down and smiled at her. Can you feel it? Naruto began to sing as if asking her the question. Now it's coming back, we can steal it. Naruto bobbed his head back to motion to something coming back. Ruby merely looked on as they continued to play. If we bridge this gap. Naruto motions with his feet as if there was a gap there. I can see you. Naruto pretends to look around the room before his eyes land on Ruby and he looks shocked, then happy as if he had just spotted her. Through the curtains of the waterfall. Ruby laughed lightly at the blonde fox's antics as the two continued to look at each other. When I lost it. The scene changed to Naruto giving Ruby a tour of the hotel since she only knew about the lobby and dining room. Yeah, you held my hand. Naruto shows her the snack store where Yukata was, who waved at them as she bit into a candy bar. But I tossed it. Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, and Ruby watch as Kakashi started making a complex drink with one hand from his blind side while reading a book. Didn't understand. Naruto and Sakura chuckle as Ruby looks on in awe at the Cyclops display. Sasuke simply smirks as he rests his head on his hand. You were waiting. Naruto proceeds to dramatically open the door to another room. He looks back at Ruby and motions for her to follow him. As I dove into the waterfall. He grabs Ruby's hand and pulls her into the room, catching her by surprise. Instrumental. It shows Sakura as she begins to really play on the drums. So say Geronimo. 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 Naruto is introducing to Ruby to all of his fellow workers and where they work in the hotel. Can you feel my love? Naruto shows her the high dive in the pool. Bombs away. He tries to get her to go up, but she refuses. Bombs away. He tries to grab her, but he accidentally grabs her chest. She blushes. Bombs away. He tries to apologize, but he's cut off as Sakura spin kicks him into the pool. Can you feel my love? Sasuke sings into his mic as he harmonizes with Naruto. Bombs away. It shows Sakura on the drums as she sings. Bombs away. Bombs away. Say Geronimo. Well, we rushed it. It shows Naruto taking her to the field to see the animals. He's caught by surprise when she zooms past him and begins cuddling with all of the animals including a tiger who all warm up to her. Moving away too fast. Naruto and Kankuro are seen arguing on how to fix a busted pipe while Tenten and Ruby look on in surprise. But we crushed it. Ruby seems to be talking to Haku about something but feels somebody walk behind her. She turns around and looks at Zabuza who glares down at her. She promptly screams and runs away crying. But it's in the past. Naruto and Ruby grab markers and begin to draw on a sleeping Shikamaru's face. We can make this leap. Naruto is tackled into Kiba by the tiger that Ruby is riding on. Through the curtains of the waterfall. They look up in time to see Ino glaring down at them. They had landed in the garden ruining the plants. Instrumental. The three are seen running down the hole running from a very angry Ino. So say Geronimo. Naruto, Choji, Ruby and Konohamaru are seen saying chug repeatedly as Archer and Sakaki began gulping down bottle of alcohol without stopping to see who could finish first. Say Geronimo. Naruto, Sasuke, Gaara, Neji, Temari and Ruby are at a poker table as they look at each other. Say Geronimo. Naruto reveals his cards and everybody complains as he had the best hand. Say Geronimo. Naruto has managed to convince Ruby to actually get on top of the high dive. Say Geronimo. He tries to get her to jump but she zooms back down. Say Geronimo. Ruby is playing a game of rock paper scissors with Ron and Lee but Ron keeps winning devastating Lee and Ruby. Say Geronimo. Ruby is seen helping Mitsuri and Yukata cleaning a room as they talk animatedly. Can you feel my love? Naruto shows her a view of the city from atop the hotel roof. The city nightlights shining brightly. Bombs away. Ruby is found once again in the garden with the pets as they sit around her. Bombs away. She watches as Naruto tries to have a staring contest with Gaara but loses. Bombs away. She is seen in the kitchen watching Choji cook. She reaches out for a sample but Choji smacks her hand away making her cry. Can you feel my love? Ruby and Kim look on as Naruto and Ron are seen having an eating competition. Bombs away. They look on in mild awe as the crowd keeps getting bigger, encouraging them to go faster. Bombs away. Kenichi is seen running as Apachai chases him. Apachai spots Naruto and Ruby who are laughing and begins bounding towards them. Bombs away. Naruto and Ruby pale at the approaching giant and begin running after Kenichi. Well, I'm just a boy. Ruby is still on the high dive but she refuses to jump. But the broken toy. An idea comes to Naruto so he acts on it. All lost in koi. Ruby looks back to see that Naruto had climbed up to the top. At the curtains of the waterfall. He looks at her with a smile. So it's here I stand. Ruby looks down to see the others cheering her on to jump or just simply looking up and smiling. As a broken man. Ruby looks shocked and even more so when Naruto takes her hand in his. But I've found my friend. It goes back to the stage as Naruto continue to sing. At the curtains of the waterfall. Sasuke and Sakura bring out their instruments more and keeps up with the pace change. Now I'm falling down. Ruby looks up at the three in mild surprise as they continue to play. Through the crashing sound. Kakashi looks from behind the bar and smiles fondly. And you've come around. Naruto stops playing the guitar and holds his hand out to Ruby. At the curtains of the waterfall. Ruby slowly walks forward and holds her hand out to take Naruto's hand. And you rush to me. Naruto takes her hand in his. And it sets us free. As he does it switches back to the high dive. So I fall to my knees. It switches back to the stage and Naruto pulls her up catching her by surprise. At the curtains of the waterfall. It switches back to the high dive. Slowly Ruby begins to smile. Instruments die down. In reversal to the stage Ruby pulls Naruto and the two descend down into the pool. So say Geronimo. Instruments pick back up. Ruby and Naruto splash into the pool while everyone else cheers. Say Geronimo. Ron and Naruto begin to dance while everyone else cheers them on. Say Geronimo. Ruby looks on in awe as Lee begins doing handstand pushes up effortlessly. Say Geronimo. Ruby is cooing at baby AJ while Lana looks smiles as her daughter who is laughing at the hooded Earl's faces. Say Geronimo. Naruto and Ruby look at the tweebs they make a chemical formula that blows up in all of their faces. Say Geronimo. Naruto is trying to start Kenichi's heart while Ruby looks frightened while Mew scolds an equally frightened Apachai. He punched Kenichi too hard. Say Geronimo. Naruto and Sasuke are seen fighting as Ruby and Sakura look on and chuckle softly at their antics. Can you feel, say Geronimo. X4, my love. Naruto, Ruby, the younger kids, and most of the other teen employees are sneaking out of the kitchen. They're all holding a pint-sized tub of ice cream. They all dig in from the safety of Kim and Ron's room. Ruby is laughing at something Sakura says. She's not paying attention to where she's going and runs into someone. She looks up to see Zabuza glaring down at her. She screams and runs away again, leaving Sakura and Zabuza just standing there. Bombs away. X3, say Geronimo. X4. Damari is seen telling a scary story to everyone. Ron, Kenichi, and Naruto are huddling together in fright. Kankuro and Gaara appear behind them and spook them. The three scream and run out of the room. Everybody is cheering and shouting at Naruto and Sasuke are seen having an arm wrestling completion. It switches with Sakura and Ino a moment later. Can you feel, make this leap X3, my love. Make this leap. It switches to all of them as they are sitting around laughing and having a good time with each other. Ruby looks at everyone and smiles. Can you feel, my love? It fades back to Naruto singing to Ruby before stopping completely. So if you ever feel down, Ruby, then just say Geronimo. And if that doesn't work, Ruby asked. Then do what I do, Naruto stated with a smile. What's that? Ruby asked. Naruto gains a twinkle in his eyes and looks at her. Just sing. Chapter 3. You can't stop me. Oh, I still can't believe my baby sister is going to beacon with me. Yang shouted as she squeezed the like out of her sister. This is the best day ever. She cheered. Please stop. Ruby wheezed out, turning blue from the lack of oxygen. But I'm so proud of you. Yang said gleefully as she released Ruby from her death hug. Really sis, Ruby said, trying to calm her sister down. It was nothing. What do you mean? It was incredible. Yang countered. You got into Beacon 2 years early. Everyone at Beacon is going to think you're the bee's knees. I'm not so sure about that, Ruby thought. She a few of the whispers of the other students on the bullhead. She could feel their stares. Not all of them were nice. I don't want to be the bee's knees, okay? Ruby said. I don't want to be any kind of knees. I just want to be a normal girl with normal knees. She finished in a huff. What's with you? Yang asked, concerned. Aren't you excited? Of course I'm excited, Ruby took a deep breath. I got moved ahead 2 years. I don't want people to think I'm special or anything. Yang looked at her sister for a moment. Then she walked over and wrapped one of her arms around her sister's shoulder. But you are special. She says softly. While her sister was looking down, she looked up and her eyes flashed red. She glared at everyone around them. Yang wasn't deaf or blind. She could see some of the hateful looks Ruby was getting. She wouldn't have it. The people around them either backed away or looked away from them. The two sisters' attention were drawn to the 2D animated newscast on Vale News Network playing nearby, talking about the robbery and showing Roman's mugshot. The robbery was led by nefarious criminal Roman Torchwick, who continues to evade authorities. If you have any information on his whereabouts, please contact the Vale Police Department. Back to you, Lisa. The newsman said. The mugshot changed to a woman with the name Lisa Lavender at the bottom of the screen. A photo of animal-eared demonstrators holding signs saying "We are not animals." Followed by an image of the logo of a growling red wolf's head with 3 scratch marks are shown in the corner of the screen back to back. Thank you, Cyril, Lisa said before turning to the screen. In other news, the recent Frana civil rights protest turned dark when members of the White Fang disrupted the ceremony. But it seems that before it could escalate, a young teenage Frana seemed to have tried to put a stop to them in an interesting way. We have footage here. The scene shows a group of Franas all wearing the same thing along with a grim mask. They had their guns aimed out, but before they could fire, a tomato was thrown at one of them. Hey asswhoops, this is a peaceful protest. Ruby looked up in shock at recognizing the voice. Naruto, she thought. Her attention along with everyone else on the airship's attention was on the screen. Yeah, you fuck sticks. This is a peaceful protest, the blonde Franas shouted. Go fuck off. We are trying to convey a message. One of the soldiers shouted at the boy. What, that you all are the reason we don't have equal rights? Naruto countered. Yeah, good job there. Naruto picked up a couple of eggs and threw them at the White Fang members. Do you really think this will change anything? The White Fang soldier shouted. Being peaceful will get us nowhere. Tell that to my human friends. Naruto countered as he began fiddling with a few canisters in the bags he was carrying. Human. The leader snarled out the word in disgust. You are a traitor to your kind. Yeah. Naruto said as he began mixing something together. You shall die here as an example. The leader shouted. He made a motion with his hand and all of the soldiers took aim with their weapons. And you all can eat the fattest of, Naruto shouted. Then he picked up a bottle and threw it at the White Fang members. They ignored the bottle for the most part. They didn't expect it to explode on contact with the ground. The White Fang members flew back while the peaceful protesters began running away. Jim and Tim taught him how to make that, Ruby thought. I hope you guys know how to play catch. Naruto shouted as he tossed bottle in the air and caught it. He looked at them and gave a feral grin. Because I have plenty of ammunition. Just as he got ready to let loose another bottle, the footage stopped. The White Fang members managed to escape, but the young Franas was arrested after due to police confusion. Lisa explained. So that's why he was there, Ruby thought. He was released soon after, however, after protest members came to his aid, Lisa continued. Well, it's nice to see that all Faunus aren't with the White Fang. In other news. The news feed was suddenly cut off as a hologram of the Huntress Ruby met the same night replaced it. Hello, and welcome to Beacon. The Huntress greeted. Who's that? Yang asked as she leaned on her sister. My name is Glinda Goodwitch. The hologram said, and Ruby could have sworn it looked at her and her sister. Oh, Yang said in understanding. You are among a privileged few who have received the honor of being selected to attend this prestigious academy. Our world is experiencing an incredible time of peace, and as future huntsmen and huntresses, it is your duty to uphold it. You have demonstrated the courage needed for such a task, and now it is our turn to provide you with the knowledge and the training to protect our world. The hologram disappeared after the speech, and the students began muttering amongst each other. But soon their muttering becomes gasps of surprise as they look out the window and get a view of Beacon. Oh, wow. Look, you can see signal from up here. Ruby says as she looks at an island in the distance. I guess home isn't too far after all. Ruby said as Yang walked up next to her. Beacon's our home, now. Yang said as she pats her sister's shoulder and smiles at her. The two hear a passenger groaning and hunched over nearby, running to the back of the ship. Well, I guess the view isn't for everyone, Yang said with an eye roll. It was a nice moment while it lasted, Ruby sighed out. She looked out the window and spotted Vale in the distance. Just sing, she whispered to herself, remembering Naruto's words to her. Line break. Do you think she's arrived yet? Naruto asked as Sasuke and Sakura were exiting the music store. HN, Sasuke responded. Ruby, Naruto said. She was supposed to head to Beacon today to check in. Check in? Sakura asked. Whatever the correct phrase is, Naruto grumbled. Well, probably, Sakura said as she began spinning a drumstick in her hand while they walked through the street. What do you think she's doing? Naruto asked. HN. I don't think so, Sasuke, Naruto said. From what Ruby told me, she's supposed to take some kind of exam before the first official day of school. I heard that they put the first years into teams, Sakura spoke up. From who? Naruto asked. The guy who had stayed at the hotel a few weeks ago, Sakura answered. I think his name was Crow. You mean that guy that Archer had a drinking competition with? Yeah, that guy, Sakura confirmed. HN. Sasuke said. Oh yeah, Sakaki was there for the competition, Sakura said, agreeing with Sasuke. Kakashi had to close the bar early that day. Granny was not happy about that at all, Naruto chuckled out. It didn't help that she joined in, Sakura giggled, and Sasuke merely smirked. So when do you think Ruby will visit again? Sakura asked. She's really starting to fit in with the others. Well, she was exposed to us almost every day for 2 weeks, Sasuke pointed out, finally saying something more in the conversation. Ha! Naruto yelled triumphantly. He looked at Sakura expectantly as he held out a hand. Damn it. Sakura grumbled out as she began rummaging through her pocket. She handed Naruto a couple lean bills and continued walking. Sasuke watched the exchange with a raised eyebrow. He looked over at Naruto for an answer as Sakura had pulled ahead and was storming off currently. We had a bet on what would be the first word you would say first after HN, Naruto explained. Wait, how did you know I would say that? Sasuke asked in surprise. I didn't, Naruto answered truthfully. Sakura just said that you would insult me first. Sasuke looked at him before shrugging his shoulders. Yeah, I can see that. Suddenly Naruto's scroll began beeping, alerting him of a message. He pulled it out and looked at the message. It's from Ruby, Naruto says with a smile. What did she say? Sakura asked excitedly as she had zoomed back to the boys to look at Naruto's scroll. Sasuke suddenly walked closer to look over Naruto's other shoulder to see what the message was. Just landed at Beacon was all the message said. Text her back. Sakura commanded. Text her what? Naruto asked, looking at his disturbingly hyped up friend. Ask for a picture of Beacon, Sakura said. No, better yet, ask her to take a selfie. Naruto and Sasuke looked at her weirdly. The what? Naruto asked. Oh, for the love of Aum. Sakura said angrily as she snatched Naruto's scroll away from him. Give me that. Hey. Naruto shouted. Hush. Sakura hissed before she began typing quickly on the scroll. A moment later she sent the message. What did you say? Naruto asked. Line break. That's great. Send me a picture of Beacon with you in it. Ruby reread the message a few times. Then she began typing. Line break. Sakura, give me my scroll. Naruto said as he lunged for it. But Sakura wasn't having it. She leapt in the air and stomped Naruto into the ground. Just hold on, idiot. Sakura shouted. Then Naruto's scroll beeped. Sakura looked back at the scroll to read the message. Like a selfie? Sakura looked at the scroll with confusion. Then she began typing. Line break. Yeah, the message said. Ruby looked somewhat worried. She had never really taken a selfie. "Hey Ruby, the pilot said they would take care of the luggage," Yang called as she began walking towards her. That's when a light bulb popped over Ruby's head. "Yang, take a picture of me with beacon behind me," she said as she handed her scroll to her sister. Yang looked somewhat surprised at the request, but eventually smiled. "Alright Ruby, stand right there." Line break. Naruto, Sasuke and Sakura had arrived back at the hotel. Naruto and Sakura were sitting at the bar waiting for Ruby's next text while Sasuke was tuning the instruments. "What do you think's taking so long?" Sakura asked. "Maybe she's trying to find a good spot to take the selfie," Naruto suggested. "I don't know," Sakura said. "She doesn't seem like the type." "Type?" Naruto asked. "Nothing, don't worry about it," Sakura said. But Naruto began. "Just leave it alone, idiot," Sasuke huffed out as he tuned the bass guitar. "What was that bastard?" Naruto scowled. But before the two could continue, the scroll beeped. "She sent something," Sakura said. Naruto's attention was immediately on the scroll. Sasuke continued to tune the bass guitar. "It's a picture," Sakura said. Naruto and Sakura looked on at the picture. It had Ruby slightly to the side as she smiled at the camera shyly. In the background was what they could only assume was Beacon Academy. "Wow," Naruto said. "It looks so nice," Sakura said. "Sasuke, you gotta come see this." Sasuke responded. "Oh, she sent something else," Sakura said. "Gotta go talk to you about it later tonight." Line break. "Okay, talk to you later," the message said. Ruby put her scroll up. "Who were you texting?" Yang asked her sister as the two began walking. Ruby got ready to answer, but her attention was overtaken by something else. "Oh Yang, that guy had a collapsible staff," Ruby shouted as stars replaced her eyes. "Oh great," Yang thought sarcastically as she looked at her now hyped up sister. Her question forgotten in the wind. Line break. "So Kakashi, what's the atmosphere for tonight?" Naruto asked as he looked at the bartender. Kakashi said as he looked up from his book. "Too soon to tell you," he shrugged. "So far there hasn't been a pattern in the people's mood and my only customers so far were Archer, Sakaki and Fang." "White Fang came to drink?" Sakura asked in surprise. "Why was he here?" "He seemed to be struggling with something," Kakashi answered. "He wouldn't say what though." "Weird," Naruto said. "I'll ask him about it later." "Do you think him and Max fought again?" Sakura asked. "Nah, I don't think so," Kakashi said. "He wasn't mad about anything. Just troubled." "Well, I'm sure it'll work itself out," Naruto said with a shrug. "So what song do you think we should play?" Sakura asked. "Well, about that," Kakashi began. Gaining the others' attention. "It seems that tonight we will be hosting a birthday party tonight," Kakashi began. "What age, Naruto asked. "Teenagers," Kakashi said. "Wait, I thought school started back up today?" Sakura asked. "For Beacon," Kakashi answered. "Not civilian schools." "Makes sense," Sasuke shrugged. "Yep," Kakashi nodded. "Well, they're probably going back to school soon, so maybe something hype," Naruto suggested. "Word," Kakashi said nonchalantly. Making crunk, he looked up when he noticed it had gone quiet. He looked up to see Sakura shaking her head, Sasuke scowling and Naruto looking at him with a deadpan look. "What?" "Never try to sound hip," Naruto said. "Yeah, it's weird," Sakura agreed. Sasuke said. Kakashi began to cry comically. "You guys are so mean." Line break. Ruby Rose's first day at Beacon was not going well. It all went downhill the moment her sister ditched her. Stupid ditchy sister. Now she was lost. And she didn't want to approach anyone around her. Most of them seemed to still be sore that a 15-year-old girl got in. "That's her," Ruby heard a whisper. "Think she's so great that she cheated?" "Please," Ruby begged in her mind as she lifted her hood over her head. "Stop." The insults and accusations just kept coming, however. She hadn't even done anything. Ruby wanted to disappear. She was so caught up in her sulking that she didn't notice where she was going. She tripped over a cart, knocking a few cases off of it. "Ow," Ruby groaned out as she slowly got up. "What are you doing?" a voice yelled. Ruby looked up to see a girl in a pure white hair looking at her angrily. "I'm sorry," Ruby apologized as she got up. "I wasn't watching where I was going." "Obviously," the girl huffed. "Do you realize the damage you could have caused because of your incompetence?" Ruby tried nervously. "These cases are filled with dust," the girl shouted. "Do you know what that means?" "Well, it means you could have caused an accident and somebody could have gotten hurt." The girl continued as she held out a red vial and began shaking it. As she shook, the bottle, particles began filling the air, getting into Ruby's nose. "Hey ha." Ruby tried, but the itchiness in her nose was getting worse. "You need to watch where you're going," the girl said as she continued shaking the bottle. Ruby's nose was reaching critical mass. "Hey, are you listening?" Ruby tried to hold it. She really did, but the dust finally got to her. Achoo. Ruby sneezed and the chain reaction the girl had been talking about took place. Boom. Ruby looked at the girl who was currently covered in soot from the explosion. Are you okay? Ruby questioned in concern as she reached for the girl. No. The girl shouted, shaking the soot off. This is what I was talking about. I'm really sorry. Ruby tried. You should be. Weiss shouted. Look at what you caused. Well, it's not that bad, Ruby tried. Not that bad. The girl shouted. Her yelling was getting the attention of passing students. You just wasted all that dust. But Ruby tried. What are you even doing here? The girl asked as she began analyzing Ruby. Aren't you a little young to enter Beacon? Well. This isn't for kids, the girl scolded. We're here to train seriously. Children who can't even take it seriously should go home. Okay, now that it stung. Hey, I said I was sorry, princess, Ruby growled, reaching her boiling point. It's Eris, actually. Another person spoke up. Ruby and the girl looked over a girl with long black hair and a bow approaching them with a bottle in her hand. Weiss Schnee, heiress to the Schnee Dust Company, one of the largest producers of energy propellant in the world. The girl explained. Weiss smiled smugly finally. She cheered, some recognition. The same company infamous for its controversial labor forces and questionable business partners. The girl continued with a straight face. Weiss looked at the other girl angrily while Ruby lightly chuckled. Wah, how dare you, the nerve of ugh. Weiss walked up the girl and snatched the bottle from her. She walked off in a huff as her helpers gathered the luggage and followed her. I promise I'll make this up to you. Ruby shouted, trying to appease the situation. She sighed. I guess I'm not the only one having a rough first day. She turned around to look at the newcomer. So, what, she began. Only to see the girl walking off as well. Never mind, she muttered. Then the voices came back. Did you see that? What a klutz. Some prodigy. She won't last here. That's what she gets for thinking she's better than us. But I don't think that, Ruby wanted to say. But her voice was hoarse. She slowly slid to the ground. Welcome the Beacon, she thought sadly. Alright, nothing to see here. A voice yelled. Move along, people. Ruby looked up to see a shadow standing in front of her and waving the other students away. After the crowd dispersed, the shadow turned around and helped her up. Sorry about that, Ruby looked up, see blonde hair and blue eyes. Naruto? She asked. Who? Ruby blinked and took in the boy's features. It wasn't Naruto. Nothing, Ruby mumbled. Thanks for the help. It's no problem, not Naruto shrugged. Name's John. Ruby greeted. Then she got a really good look at the boy. Weren't you the guy that vomited on the ship? John looked sad all of a sudden. Yeah, he moaned out. Line break. Should I do rap tonight? Naruto muttered to himself as he was walking through the hotel halls. No, maybe rock would be better. Hello, Naruto. Naruto looked up to see that Haku had been the one to greet him. Hey Haku, Naruto greeted back. You on break? Yeah, so I thought I would walk around for a moment to clear my head. Yeah, it must get loud in the casino. Indeed, Haku nodded. So where are you headed? I was on my way to talk to Kiba, Naruto explained. Needed to ask him to run the stage lights tonight. Ah, Haku nodded. Mind if I join you? Whatever, Naruto shrugged. And the two began to make their way to the backyard of the hotel. So how's Ruby doing? Haku asked. She arrived at Beacon today, Naruto said. He pulled out his scroll and began going through his pictures. He finally got to the one Ruby had sent him and showed it to Haku. What a nice campus, Haku commented. Yeah, Naruto agreed. I'm sure her day's going good too. I hope so, Haku agreed. I look forward to her next visit. Yeah, but you better hope Zabuza's not nearby, Naruto snorted. He scares the crap out of her. Zabuza can be rather intimidating, Haku agreed. But he means well. Suri, Naruto teased. He's a big softy. Better not let him hear you say that, Haku said. Oh please, I'll kick his ass, Naruto boasted. He still hasn't beaten me in poker. In his defense, no one has, Haku said. Because I'm the best. Naruto said. I can spot any detail and read anyone. Haku raised an eyebrow at the implication. And yet you couldn't tell I was a boy when we first met. That's different. Naruto defended weakly. He remembered when he had met Haku and Zabuza 3 years ago. It had been an interesting day to say the least. Kiba, come on, we gotta do it. No, Archer. Kiba yelled. What the hell? Naruto said as he and Haku walked into the backyard. Come on, it will be awesome. No. What's this about? Naruto asked, noticing Jim, Tim, and along with a blonde-haired boy were looking at the argument. The boy turned around to look at Naruto. Oh hey Naruto, hey Haku, the boy greeted. Hey Gazi, Naruto greeted. What are they arguing about? Archer wants to have a fight between Akamaru and Shane, Tim answered. Oh, Haku said. Well, it's gonna have to wait, I need to talk to Kiba, Naruto said. The three boys merely shrugged. Kiba. Naruto shouted, getting his attention. What? Hey, don't yell at me. Naruto shouted back, getting angry. Sorry, but Archer's stressing me out, Kiba huffed out. Come on Kiba, it would be epic. The adult man begged. Yes, so is my foot in your ass. Hey. Naruto shouted as the two continued to argue. What? Kiba, I need you to work the lights tonight, Naruto said. Teenage birthday party. Yeah, fine, whatever, Kiba said. Now can you help me convince Archer to leave his stupid fight idea alone? Naruto? Kiba asked. Well, I mean, let's not rule anything out, Naruto said. Damn it, Naruto. Kiba yelled. Thank you. Archer said to Naruto. The four other boys in the field looked on at the exchange silently. It's never boring here, Haku commented with a smile. The three boys merely nodded in agreement. Line break. Ruby rose late in her sleeping bag as she looked at her scroll. Today had not been her day. The literal only good thing that happened to her today was her meeting John. He seemed nice enough. Well, there was Blake, but she saw that as more neutral than good or bad. But Weiss had overshadowed all of it. That and the whispers. She could still hear them. Their cruel words. They wouldn't go away. Bing. Ruby looked down at her scroll. Hey. It was a message from Naruto. How was your day? Something told her that Sakura was the one sending the messages. Every word was set out. Naruto abbreviated. Not that great. She responded. What happened? Are you okay? Who am I killing? Now it was Naruto texting. So Ruby texted him about her day. About her meeting Weiss, about the whispers, everything. So that's who I'm killing THN. Ruby chuckled at the message. No killing anyone. Are you sure? Yeah, I was just hoping for something better. Maybe I'm not cut out to be here. And Ruby truly felt that way. Maybe she wasn't ready for this. She was 2 years behind everyone else. Hey, let me text you back in a little bit. I'm heading to the stage, okay? Okay. Ruby answered, but in truth she didn't want him to stop talking to her. Don't go to sleep. Ruby looked at the message. Then she responded with an okay and held her scroll to her chest. Line break. Naruto closed his scroll and looked at the curtain. Hey Sakura, give me 10 minutes, he said. But why? I need Ino to do something for me, he responded before walking off. Line break. 2 hours. It had been 2 hours since Naruto had sent his message. Still no response. Maybe he forgot about me, Ruby thought dejectedly. It was 11 p.m, Ruby had stayed up like he had asked her to. But from his lack of responding, Ruby was going to go to sleep. Bing. Ruby's eyes widened. She quickly opened her scroll. He hadn't forgotten her. She looked at the message. Hope her's still up. If you are, grab headphones and watch this. Then he sent her a package. Ruby snuck over to where she knew her luggage was and rummaged through it for her headphones. Then she made her way back to her sleeping bag. She plugged them in and clicked on the package. She was met with Kiba and Ino's faces. Kiba gave a wave before turning back to working on some machine. Ino just winked at the camera and turned it around. Ruby laid eyes on a large crowd on the dance floor of the dining room. On the stage was Naruto. He was wearing an oversized orange and black hoodie with a red shirt underneath. His pants were dark blue and he was wearing a pair of orange and black shoes matching the hoodie. Around his neck was a pair of black headphones. Alright everybody, are you ready? He yelled into the mic and the crowd cheered. Well, then he trailed off and Sasuke began playing on the keyboard. Sakura joined in a second later. Naruto bobbed his head a few times faster and faster. Then he began singing. You can't stop me. Ruby jumped, startled by the sudden yell over her scroll. Can't stop, won't stop, where the brakes at? Naruto began singing at a fast pace and began shaking his head. He put his foot out as if he was looking for the brakes in a car. I give him that diddy bop, like take that, take that, take that, take that. Naruto looked at the crowd before rocking his shoulder as he said take that repeatedly. I'ma put in work, I'ma do that ASAP. Ruby looked at Naruto in awe. She didn't know he rapped too. Throw my faith in rap, but they say don't say that, huh? Naruto threw his hand out as if tossing something. He pointed out then wagged his finger with a smirk. What I'ma turn down for, I feel like Shaq in 9-4. Naruto shrugged his shoulders and gave a confused look. Villain grim with that Tonto, or like monkey in Vacuo, huh? Naruto mimicked having a simple Tonto blade in his hand. He glimpsed at Kakashi and Asuma who gave amused smiles. Dropping 81, yo I dropped the 88, Ricky Bobby, shake and bake. Naruto turned his thumb down as if challenging the older gentleman. He turned his hand around and held his hand out. Then moved side to side quickly. Sleeping on us, should have stayed awake, huh? Naruto pretended to go to sleep before waking up completely alerted. Everybody make mistakes like V trying to say my name. Naruto holds his hand out as if showing he understood people making mistakes. It's Naruto, say it with me, Naruto, okay great. Naruto looked forward and held his hand out after repeating his name. Ruby giggled at that part. Two forks high, raise the stakes, risk it all, I take the hate. Naruto pointed his finger up before raising his hand. Then he pointed to himself as if taking the hate. It's the winning team, get the Gatorade. Naruto gestured to Sasuke and Sakura. They both suddenly stopped playing and held out bottles with liquid in them. An orange lighting sign on the front. My arm's good, but he's not safe, nah. They try to shut us down, and it ain't gonna slide. Naruto and Sasuke began to sing. As the light in the dining room began to dim, the teens in the room began to cheer loud as they danced to the song. Only thing I fear is death and he on my side. Naruto pointed up, then patted his shoulder. That's the confidence of Aum, cause he got me. He waved his hand around before pointing back to himself as he and Sasuke sang. That's why I really feel like. Naruto slowly raised his arm in the air. You can't stop me. Naruto shouted the next part as he pumped his arm at every word. Ruby could hear all of the kids cheering as they began dancing to the beat. That's all you got. Come on with it. That's all you got. Sasuke and Sakura began to really play on the instruments as Naruto began walking around the stage. You can't stop me. Naruto held his mic out as if beckoning to the crowd who sang the part. You don't got the power, can't shut me down. Sasuke started the sentences and Naruto finished them as they sang. Stop, that's not an option, I'm my biggest problem. Ruby looked at her scroll with somewhat longing. She really wanted to be there. You don't got the power, can't shut me down. That's when Ruby noticed that Naruto was looking dead ahead. Stop, that's not an option. Right at the scroll. You can't stop me. As if Shinjin was he singing to her, you're my biggest opponent, you know me, I know you, we know it. Naruto turned from the scroll and looked at the crowd of teens again as Sasuke and Sakura began to fade into the background. Whenever I fail, you've always been there to simply remind me I've blown it. Naruto looked downward. You don't see when I'm growing, you don't see where I'm going. He shook his head as he mimicked growing and then pointing into a random direction before facing that way before turning back to the crowd. You only see in the moment, you know my mistakes, you never let go it. Naruto pointed down before pretending to grab something as began pulling as if there was resistance. Like there was somebody else who refused to let go. Don't cease to amaze me, and it drive me crazy, huh. Naruto looked contemplative, then he grabbed one side his head and began shaking his head like he lost his mind. But you catch every detail that I miss in the songs I'm making, saying. Ruby looked on at Naruto as he once again looked at the scroll while the kids were cheering. You will never write a verse like Hendrik, never be the rapper rock god from Hendrix. Ruby's eyes widened as Naruto began to rap even faster when Sasuke and Sakura suddenly stopped playing. Top 10 alive, you will never be mentioned, why aim so high, won't survive the trenches. The crowd had gone wild as he continued rapping without a beat. Ruby couldn't blame them. Plus, you are younger Ruby, they will never listen Ruby. Ruby's eyes widened. He was singing to her. If the crowd noticed, they didn't care. They just kept dancing and cheering. Plus, we're your pigment Ruby, you ain't got skill, you a gimmick Ruby. Was he mocking her? No, he was pointing out what people had been saying about her behind her back or what they were probably saying. Well, if I listen to you and everything you put in my ear. Naruto began rapping like he was talking about himself again, as if he never mentioned Ruby. He pointed around and then brought his finger to his ear. I'll be living like Walda, Shoulda, Colda, I'll be paralyzed by fear. Naruto began rolling his hand, bringing up another finger with every roll until he got to 3. Then he froze in place as if he was scared. Ain't that the truth, if I quit the only way I lose. Ruby looked on as his words began to resonate with her. I got 2 choices when I do this, make moves or make excuses. Naruto held up 2 fingers. He wagged his fingers to emphasize his point. He looked directly at the scroll one again. If you know who I'm talking about, then you got me. He suddenly looked at the crowd and smiled broadly. My biggest enemy is me, and even I can't stop me. He looked back at the scroll again and pointed to himself. Then he gave a cocky smile as he said the last line. Ruby smiled broadly. They try to shut us down, and it ain't gonna slide. Naruto and Sasuke began to sing once again. Only thing I fear is death and he on my side. Naruto pointed up, then patted his shoulder. That's the confidence of Aum, cause he got me. He waved his hand around before pointing back to himself as he and Sasuke sang. That's why I really feel like. Naruto raised his mic and held it out to the crowd. Ruby smiled at the implication. You can't stop me. Ruby mouthed the words as the kids over the scroll sang the hook. That's all you got. Come on with it. That's all you got. Sasuke and Sakura began to really play on the instruments as Naruto began walking around the stage. You can't stop me. Naruto held his mic out as if beckoning to the crowd who sang the part once again. You don't got the power, can't shut me down. Sasuke started the sentences and Naruto finished them as they sang. Ruby was bobbing her head to the beat as she listened. Stop, that's not an option, I'm my biggest problem. The smile on her face just got bigger with every line. You don't got the power, can't shut me down. That's when Ruby noticed that Naruto was looking dead ahead once again. Stop, that's not an option. Ruby looked right back. She knew he couldn't see her since this was a recording, but she couldn't help it. You can't stop me. She mouthed the words as she bobbed her head with every word. I said if I cannot stop me then you'll never stop me, oh no, can't stop, oh no, won't stop. Naruto began singing his words after Sasuke and Sakura faded out. I said if I cannot stop me then you'll never stop me, oh no, can't stop, oh no, won't stop. Sakura brought the drums in first as Ruby rocked from her sitting position. The crowd was going with the beat as well. I said if I cannot stop me then you'll never stop me, oh no, can't stop, oh no, won't stop. Sasuke joined back in next as Naruto continued walking across the stage making lifting motions with his arms to get the crowd pumped up. I said if I cannot stop me then you'll never stop me, oh no, can't stop, oh no, won't stop. Ruby began moving faster as well as she started tapping her feet against her cover to keep them silent. She was the only one up after all. She noticed that Naruto began holding his mic out and counted down with his finger. She and the crowd knew what to do. His hand reached 0. You can't stop me. The crowd yelled. That's all you got. Come on with it. That's all you got. Ruby looked on as Naruto began dancing on the stage before jumping down into the crowd who parted for him. He would sing parts in some of the dancers' faces as they cheered. You can't stop me. Naruto leaned back and held the mic upward, causing the crowd to yell the hook once again. You don't got the power, can't shut me down. Naruto sang the beginning of the sentence and looked around the crowd surrounding him as they sang the rest of each sentence. Stop, that's not an option, I'm my biggest problem. Ruby began singing as well, the smile on her face never leaving. You don't got the power, can't shut me down. She wouldn't let them get to her. She would be successful. Stop, that's not an option. She would be the best huntress on the planet. Naruto had made it back to the stage and pointed his finger to indicate one more time. He held the mic out. You can't stop me. The crowd yelled and Ruby mouthed the word. Naruto dropped the mic and the stage went pitch black. Line break. You think she'll like it? Naruto asked aloud as he, Sasuke, Sakura, Ron, and Kim, Mew, and Kenichi sat at the bar. She better, grumbled. Or I just stood in the corner filming instead of partying in the crowd and talking to a cute boy for nothing. Then she gave a sly smile and looked towards Sasuke. Unless, she began. No, Sasuke said bluntly as he took a swig from his bottle of root beer. You say that now, Ino said as she leaned closer to Sasuke. Until she got pulled back by Sakura. Down pig, she commanded. Ino glared at her and Sakura glared right back. Sure she will, Ron spoke up. You tried to encourage her. That's totally badical. He's right, Naruto, Kim said. Girls like that kind of thing. Yeah, Mew agreed. I think it was really sweet. Wait, really? Kenichi asked. So you would like it if somebody did something like that for you? Subtle was the collective thought that went through all of the girls' minds. Yeah, Mew chirped happily. Why do you ask? And straight over her head was the second thought in all the girls' heads. Wait, how did you guys hear about this? Naruto asked the residents of the hotel. He didn't remember telling anybody. They all said simultaneously. Of course, Naruto muttered as he glowered at his fellow blonde. Ino looked at him and shrugged. Bing. Naruto looked down at his scroll. It's from Ruby, he said. Suddenly he was surrounded by everyone except Sasuke. Well. Sakura yelled. What does it say? Kim spoke up. Naruto opened up the scroll and looked at the message. You can't stop me. Naruto read the message a few times before smiling. She liked it, he said. Booyah. Ron cheered. That's great. Kenichi said. Was said by all the girls. HN. We all know who said that. Kakashi, give us a round of scotch. Naruto demanded with a wide grin. I'll give you apple juice, Kakashi responded lazily without even looking up. Close enough. Naruto said with the same amount of enthusiasm as his previous statement. Chapter 4. Bite the dust. The day is the day, Ruby thought as she began to look over Crescent Rose. Today was the day of the exam. She and the other first years were all waiting to be called to where the exam would be taken. They were being called out in groups. Ruby was in the last group that just so happened to have her sister. Lucky. So now their chances of being on a team together were even higher. It was almost too good to be true. The day was the day to prove herself. To show that she was a capable fighter that didn't think she was better than everyone else. But that she could stand with them and be a good ally. And even a good friend. Though she hoped she would be on her sister's team. Ruby looked at her scroll as she got a message. She looked to see that it was from Naruto. She opened it to see a video. Naruto, hurry the hell up. Shut up. I'm starting it now. Naruto shouted as he looked away from the scroll and looked at Ino, who was not on the screen. He turned back and smiled like nothing happened. Hey Ruby, just sending this to wish you luck on the exam today. We're all rooting for you. Naruto turned the scroll away from him to show the others. You got this, Ruby. Sakura said. Remember to bring some handsome huntmen in training by to meet me. Ino said with a wink. Come and tell us all about it. Kakashi said with an eye smile. Let your power of youth shine. Lee shouted with fire in his eyes. Appa. Hurry and pass so we can play tag. Apachai shouted. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Archer cheered. And don't do anything he would do either, Lana said next to him. Booby. The 3-year-old AJ squealed happily in her mother's arms. Have fun, kid, Zabuza grunted out as he scowled at the screen. Ruby held back the urge to run away. All around, the other employees and guests were wishing her luck. Good luck, Ruby, Sasuke said, causing all the others to gasp and look at him in shock. Shut up, Sasuke grunted before walking off. Naruto chuckled and turned back to the camera. Sasuke's shocking speech aside, Naruto began, and Ruby swore she could hear Sasuke shouting profanities at him. You got this, and just as a little extra luck on what you're going to do to those Grim, I sent another link, check it out after this. Then Naruto looked around to make sure the others were gone. And hey, I heard they decide captains by performance. So if you become a captain, I'll do one special thing for you. Anything you want, I'll do it, Naruto said with a sly smirk. Just a little incentive for you to do your best. Good luck, Ruby, we're all rooting for you. Then the video went off. Ruby smiled. She looked at the second link Naruto sent and opened it. It was a song. Ruby smiled as she listened. It was perfect. So how do you think she's doing? Naruto asked as he and Sasuke tuned the instruments. HN, Sasuke responded. Yeah, she's good, Naruto agreed. You saw her take on that simulation in the arena. HN. Graceful and fierce, Naruto said. HN. Smelled like roses, Naruto continued with a far-off look. HN. Naruto shook his head. Shut up. Naruto said. Sasuke simply shrugged. HN. I'm not crushing on her, okay, Naruto said. Geez, you sound like Ino. HN. Sasuke exclaimed. Don't yell at me. Naruto accused. It's true. HN. Sasuke shouted, gaining a tick mark. What, you wanna go, bitch? Naruto shouted as the two began butting heads. HN. Fists went flying. That being said, the first person you make eye contact with will be your partner for the next 4 years. What? Ruby cried out in shock. If Ozpin heard her, he didn't show it. After you've partnered up, make your way to the northern end of the forest. You will meet opposition along the way, he explained before looking at each student. Do not hesitate to destroy everything in your path or you will die, he finished simply. To her right, Ruby could hear John laughing nervously. You will be monitored and graded through the duration of your initiation, but our instructors will not intervene, Ozpin explained. You will find an abandoned temple at the end of the path containing several relics. Each pair must choose one and return to the top of the cliff. We will regard that item, as well as your standing, and grade you appropriately. Are there any questions? Oh man, this was gonna suck. There were a lot of kids here, so the odds of Ruby finding Yang were not that great. Oh, why couldn't you do it? Another way, Ruby thought sadly. To her left, she could hear John asking ridiculous questions. She could tell how this was about to go down. She looked at her sister, who winked at her before she was launched. Ruby got in a ready position and was launched right after her. Behind her, she could hear John shrieking after he was launched a second later. As she flew through the sky, she saw something get in her way. Oh no. She couldn't change direction. The bird didn't stand a chance. Birdie, no. She cried out. She recovered quickly and saw her opportunity. She shot at the ground to slow her landing before activating her scyther that got caught on a branch, causing her to spin before landing safely. She deactivated her weapon and put it up before she began running in the direction she saw her sister go in. Gotta find Yang. Gotta find Yang, gotta find Yang, gotta find, she said, repeating the mantra in her head. Yang. Yang. She called out as she continued running. Oh, this is bad, this is really bad. What if I can't find her? What if someone finds her first? She thought, panicking. Then she thought of a few other possible partners. Well, there's always John. He's nice. He's funny. She thought cheerfully before a darker thought took over. I don't think he's very good in a fight, though. Then she thought about someone else. Ooh. What about Blake? So mysterious, so calm, plus she likes books. She thought. She liked books too. Maybe they could bond over that. Then again, I'm not sure I'd be able to hold a conversation with her, she thought dejectedly. Oh, why couldn't someone at the hotel be here with me, she thought sadly. Okay, who else do I know in this school? There's Yang, John, Blake, and she thought as she slid to a stop as she saw someone in front of her. Oh no. The person turned around to look at her. Weiss. The two stared at each other silently. Be cool, Ruby, yesterday happened, but it's time to move on, she thought. You can do this. She let out a small smile as she looked at her partner. Weiss stared back. Then she turned around and walked away. Wait. Ruby shouted, alarmed. Where are you going? We're supposed to be teammates, she groaned out as she looked down dejectedly. So much for a fresh start, she thought sadly. Then she heard footsteps coming toward her and suddenly found herself being dragged away. By no means does this make us friends. Ruby smiled at the voice. You came back, she cheered as she got dragged away. Maybe this could work after all. So I can guess what my boys did here, Sakura said as she looked at the instruments that were all over the floor. Or to be more accurate, what they're doing here, she said with a deadpan look as she looked at the two boys who were still fighting. Naruto picked up a clarinet and rolled to Sasuke's side and blew into it, making a high-pitched sound directly into Sasuke's ear. Ah! Sasuke shouted in pain. Recovering quickly, Sasuke grabbed a bass guitar and swung it at Naruto, smacking him against a drum set. Naruto quickly recovered and began throwing drumsticks at the raven-haired boy at high speeds. In a weird show of power though, Sasuke managed to deflect each one with the side of the guitar he was holding. Naruto, seeing this, noticed another guitar on the floor and quickly grabbed it. The two stared at each other as they held the guitars in their hand. Then the two charged at each other. But before they could clash, they were stopped by something. Namely, two drums smashed over their head and around them. They dropped the guitars as they recovered and began to struggle to get out of the makeshift binds. Sakura looked to see Kakashi looking at them with an irritated look. Don't break the equipment, he said with a tick mark. You can't talk. Naruto and Sasuke shouted at the man at the same time. Sakura sighed in frustration. Yep, these were her boys all right. A bunch of idiots. It's definitely this way, Weiss said as she walked in a random direction. Ruby was currently sitting on a rock watching her partner. I mean this way. It's definitely this way, she said, walking in another direction. Alright, it's official. We passed it, Weiss said, stopping in front of the younger girl. Ruby rolled her eyes. You said that 5 minutes ago. Weiss, why can't you just admit that you have no idea where we're going? Ruby asked as she stood up, irritation in her voice. After they had become partner, Weiss had opted to lead them, and Ruby didn't object. She was trying to get along with her new partner. Then after a few less than encouraging words about her skill, Ruby wanted to show that she wasn't going to be a burden. Then the beholds came. Ruby had thought it was a chance to show her skills and show she wasn't going to be a burden. Maybe they could work together. The end result was a forest fire. After the two had escaped, they had argued about the other's tactics, and Weiss simply walked off, and Ruby had to follow her, albeit a little reluctantly. Which leads us to now. Because I know exactly where we're going. Weiss defended with a huff. Ruby raised an eyebrow in questioning. We're going to the forest temple. Ruby sighed in frustration. Oh, stop it. You don't know where we are, either. Weiss retorted angrily. Well, at least I'm not pretending like I know everything, Ruby countered easily. What is that supposed to mean? Weiss asked, sounding offended. It means you've been nothing but a condescending know-it-all bossy jerk to me ever since we've met, Ruby said with a glare. Just keep moving. Weiss said, ignoring the girl. Oh, just keep moving. Hurry up. Wah. Watch where you're going. Ruby said mockingly, trying to sound like Weiss. Why are you so bossy? Ruby asked. I'm not bossy. Don't say things like that. Weiss said, whirling around to look at Ruby. Stop treating me like a kid. Ruby said. Stop acting like a kid. Weiss argued back. All you've done since you've gotten here is be a nuisance to me and everyone around you, Weiss said. All I've tried to do is be your friend. Ruby defended. That's it. We didn't come here to make friends. Oh, and I suppose the way you were trying to suck up to that red-headed girl was just because? Ruby questioned. And I'm sure when Osbin made teams he didn't expect us to become friends. Weiss had nothing to say to either of those statements. Stop acting like you're perfect, Weiss, Ruby said. I'm not perfect. Not yet, Weiss said, then she glared at the younger girl. But I'm still leagues better than you, and so is everyone else here, you child, Weiss hissed with venom in her voice. You don't even know me, Ruby said hollowly as she clenched her fists. She couldn't stop the few tears that dropped down her face. So how do you think she's doing? Sakura asked as they sat in at the bleachers in the arena. Oh, I'm sure she's fine, Ino said nonchalantly. You saw her during the simulation. True, Sakura said. For a girl of small stature, she knows how to use that weapon of hers, Tamari commented. I know, right? Tenten said with stars in her eyes. She has to let me look at it. The others gave Tenten a blank stare. Weapon freak, Ino muttered. What was that bore face, Tenten said with a tick mark. "Oh, don't you two start," Tamari groaned. "We already have to deal with that," she said lazily, pointing at the fight in the arena. Naruto sent a fist at Kenchi but was promptly flipped over. "Damn it," Naruto said in pain. Kenichi looked ready to apologize but stopped when he saw Kiba and Sasuke go for a kick to his face from either side. He grabbed both of them and held them in place before slamming them down. "He's a complete scaredy cat that can't get the girl he likes to notice him, yet he can whoop our asses easily," Sasuke groaned. In his defense, he is the #1 disciple of the most ridiculous martial arts dojo in Remnant, Kiba groaned. "How does that make it better?" Naruto asked as he stood up. "Go Kenichi," Mew shouted cheerfully. Kenichi changed from the serious fighter to a puddle with face of pure bliss. "You're right," Kiba scowled. "It doesn't," he then looked at the other girls. "How come you guys can't cheer for us?" he shouted. "No weapons," Tenten said. "Younger than me," Tamari answered without looking up. "Maybe for Sasuke," Ino said. "The rest of you aren't my type." "Well damn," Naruto said looking at the harsh girls. He then gave Sakura a pleading look. Sakura simply raised an eyebrow. "Sasuke, help out here," he said between his teeth as he continued looking at Sakura. "HN," Sasuke said. "Shut up," Naruto said angrily. "Stupid pretty boy." "HN. Oh, so that's how it's going to be," Naruto thought. Then he looked at Mew, who was still cheering. Then he got a devious smile. "Hey Mew," Sasuke said, "if you cheer for him he'll give you some ice cream if you cheer for him," Naruto whispered as he got close to his fellow blonde. Mew's eyes instantly turned into stars. "Oh Sasuke." Mew cheered ecstatically. Sasuke looked at the girl alarmed. Then he looked at Naruto, who had an evil smile on his face. Before he could question the idiot though, he felt an intense aura behind him. Sasuke turned around slowly to see a very pissed Kenichi glaring at him. "Fuck you Naruto," Sasuke said as Kenichi charged at him. Naruto simply smiled and laughed as Sasuke began desperately dodging Kenichi's hits. "You too Naruto," Mew shouted. Naruto paled. Kenichi glared at him as well. "Ah shit," Naruto groaned as Kenichi changed his trajectory and leapt at him. "Oh my everything," Ruby groaned. "Did your sister just fall from the sky?" Ruby heard Blake ask aloud. "Maybe I shouldn't have jumped." Ruby and Weiss had been trying to find the temple. Weiss had finally agreed that they were lost and Ruby had made a suggestion. A very stupid but fun suggestion. Flashback. "Let's ride that nevermore," Ruby said as they looked at a giant bird Grim perched on a hill. "Are you insane?" Weiss hissed. "Only a little," Ruby responded. "What?" "It'll be fine Weiss," Ruby dismissed, ignoring her question. "Now let's go," and before Weiss could retort the younger girl was off. "This is a bad idea," Weiss said following after the younger girl. Flashback end. "It was a good idea," Ruby thought. "It got us to the temple." "Hey Ruby." Ruby looked up to see John upside down looking at her. "John? What are you doing?" Ruby asked the blonde. "Oh you know," he said casually. "Just hanging around." "Is it fun?" "Not really no," he responded. "The blood's rushing to my head," then without warning he fell onto the branch Ruby was on. "Oh my everything." Ruby chuckled before jumping down next to her sister. "Yang." She shouted cheerfully as she lunges at her sister. "Ruby." Yang cheered as she lunged back at her. "Nora." A girl with orange hair said, getting between them before they could hug. Ruby began before they saw someone running out of the forest. It was a girl with long red hair and in a ponytail. She was wearing bronze armor and was heading straight for them. Along with a Deathstalker. "Okay then," Ruby muttered as she watched a girl outmaneuver the giant scorpion-like creature. "Did she just run all the way here with a Deathstalker on her tail?" Blake asked. Apparently she had asked that one too many times because Ruby's sister shouted in frustration, creating a small fiery explosion around her. "I can't take it anymore," Yang shouted. "Can everyone just chill out for 2 seconds before something crazy happens again?" 1 second. 2 seconds. Ruby tapped her sister on the shoulder. Yang," the red-hooded girl said, pointing upward. Everyone followed her gaze. The Nevermore was flying in a circle over them. And Weiss was still on it. "How could you leave me?" she cried as she hung from the avian's talon. "I said jump," Ruby defended. "She should have listened." "She's gonna fall," Blake said as they all continued staring up. "She'll be fine," Ruby dismissed easily. She had been, it'd be weird if Weiss wasn't too. "She's falling," Ren said simply as they watched the heiress fall to them. "She can make it," Ruby said. "It's not like she's panicking." "She's panicking," Blake said as they watched the girl freak out as she fell. "Oh," Ruby said lamely. Luckily she had no reason to freak out. A shadow loomed over them and they saw John jump into the air and catch the white-dressed girl. Then the two held onto each other for dear life as they continued falling. John fell first with Weiss falling on top of him. "My hero," she mocked. "Are you hurt?" John groaned out. Weiss looked at him and blushed slightly. "No," she mumbled with pink cheeks. Then don't criticize my back mate to make sure you were okay, he whined. Hurt so much, he said painfully. He's got me there, she thought with embarrassment written on her face. Hurrit managed to land on her side at the feet of the heroes. Great. Yang says. The gang's all here. Now we can die together. She said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Not if I can help it. Ruby shouts before she charged at the Death Stalker. Ruby, wait. Yang shouts, but the girl didn't hear her. Time to prove myself, she thought. Ruby, still screaming, fired crescent rows and charged at the oncoming Death Stalker. When the two met, the Grim swiped Ruby away and she was knocked back easily. Or not. Edu, don't worry. Totally fine. Ruby says, slowly getting up. Ruby turns back to the monster and shoots it in the skull, running away from it and sheathing her scythe as the Death Stalker now chases after her. Ruby. Yang yells, running to her sister. Ruby rushes towards Yang, but the Nevermore caws above them, flapping its wings and releasing lines of sharpened feathers with points that catch on Ruby's cape and prevent Yang from reaching her. Ruby, get out of there. Yang yells desperately. I'm trying. She says, struggling to get her hood free. The Death Stalker approaches, raising its golden stinger above a scared Ruby and heading down on the helpless girl. Ruby. Yang yells desperately. A white blur races past Yang and reaches the stinger just as it's about to pierce Ruby. You're so childish. Weiss says. Ruby opens her eyes to the side of the stinger encased in ice and lowers her arms from their fetal position over her head as she stares at her savior. Weiss. Ruby says. And dim-witted and hyperactive, and don't even get me started on your fighting style. Weiss berates. And I suppose I can be a bit difficult, but if we're going to do this, we're going to have to do this together. So if you quit trying to show off, I'll be nicer. Weiss says. I'm not trying to show off, Ruby explains. I want you to know I can do this. That's all I want. You're fine. Weiss reassured the girl. And I'm sorry for what I said. I'm sorry too. Ruby breathes a sigh of relief, then closes her eyes and clasps her hands as she gratefully whispered, Geronimo. She got up and stared at the Death Stalker as it struggled to escape with its tail trapped in the ice. Whoa. Yang rushes up to Ruby and gives her a hug, which Ruby grunts out upon receiving. Don't scare me like that, the blonde said in the hug. I won't, Ruby said, hugging her back. Maybe leave this part out when talking to Naruto. Eyes. John said, speaking up. Hate to break this up, but that thing's circling back. What are we gonna do? He asked, pointing at the Nevermore in the sky. That's not all. Purah said as she looked through her scope. A large pack of beelds are heading this way. But why? Yang asked in shock. Weiss and Ruby looked at each other. That one might be our fault, Ruby answered sheepishly. How? Yang asked. Look, there's no sense in dilly-dallying, Weiss interrupted. Our objective is right in front of us, she said, pointing to the relics. She's right, Ruby agreed, and from the corner of her eye, she could see the older girl smiling. Our mission is to grab an artifact and make it back to the cliffs, she then turned towards Weiss. There's no point in fighting these things. Run and live, John chuckled weakly. Not the worst idea, Ruby headed over to the relics and grabbed a gold knight while John took hold of a gold rook. The two looked at each other and smiled. The Death Stalker screeched as it continued to fight its bonds, cracking the ice a little in the process. Time we left. Ren pointed out. Right, Ruby said before waving to the others to follow her as she stood on top of a rock. Let's go. She said, and the others began to follow her. In the back, Yang smiled. What is it? Blake asked, looking at her partner. Nothing, Yang said wistfully before following. Blake gave a knowing smile as she followed. Well, that sucked, Naruto groaned out as he slammed his head on the bar. Why do we fight him again? Sasuke asked next to him, holding his head up with his hand. He was in as much pain as his companion. You both know the answer to that, Kakashi said as he slid them each a cup which they caught easily. You did good out there, Kenichi. The duo turned to see Mew and Kenichi walking up to them. It was nothing, Mew, Kenichi said. Though I hope you two are okay. Yeah, we're fine, you maniac, Naruto said dismissively before chugging his drink. Yo, Kakashi, make this one a double, he said as he slid his cup back to the bartender. You do realize that was just fruit punch, right? The other turned to see a teen with live skin and unkempt black hair sitting 3 seats away from them. Don't ruin my fun, Fang, Naruto growled. Or I'll tell Max. Whatever, Fang responded with a shrug. Hey Fang. Mew greeted cheerfully. Hey Mew, he greeted back easily. So what brings you down here? Naruto asked. You don't come down here often. Max forced me down here, Fang said. HN, Sasuke responded. I don't know why, Fang said, answering Sasuke. Loners understood each other. She's saying I'm suffocating her when she's the one that's always next to me. Girls are confusing, Naruto said. No, men are just dumb, Sasakura said, and Mew nodded in agreement. The others stare at them briefly before turning away. So do you think Ruby's done with the exam yet? Not yet, Naruto muttered. She said she'd message me when she was. Ruby? Fang asked. You talking about that girl has been hanging around lately? Yeah, she's a beacon, Naruto responded. Good for her, Fang said. I know Gazi wants to go there. If Max will let him, Kenichi said. Yeah, true, Fang said. So she's taking some kind of exam. Yeah. Do you think she's fine? She is, Naruto assured. She's strong and even if she's not, I've given her some helpful advice. You, helpful and advice shouldn't be in the same sentence, Sasuke said. Fuck you team. What did you say? Fang asked. It's not so much what I said, Naruto said as he smiled. As what I sang. Ruby and the other students looked around at the beelds surrounding them. In the back the Deathstalker could be seen and the Nevermore was flying above them. The Grim had caught up to them. Now they were completely surrounded and outnumbered. Oh, and they had aerial support. Wonderful. So anybody got any ideas? Yang asked aloud. Dun 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 do dun 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 do dun. The others looked surprised and turned to see Ruby leaning down and muttering. Dun dun dun, Ruby muttered again as she tapped her foot. Do dun 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 do dun, Weiss looked at her weirdly. What are you doing? Weiss asked. Bass picks up as she sings. Singing, Ruby answered with a smirk as she remembers the song Naruto sent her this morning. The screen splits to Ruby and Sasuke as he and Sakura play the instrumental while Naruto gets ready. It showed Naruto and Ruby as they look up. Oh. Let's go. Ruby and Naruto said at the same time. Steve walks warily down the street. Naruto is seen singing and moving as if he was cautious. But the brim pulled way down low. He lifted his hand and grabbed the air and pulled it down. Ain't no sound but the sound of his feet. It shows Ruby's feet as she uses her semblance to zoom at the Nevermore. Machine guns ready to go. She leaps into the air and jumps over the Nevermore shooting at its neck as she goes over it. Are you ready? Hey, are you ready for this? The Nevermore screeches and flies off. Ruby looks down and sees the beelds surrounding Yang and Blake. Are you hanging on the edge of your seat? Naruto makes a pose as if he's about to fall out of a chair. Out of the doorway the bullets rip. Yang. Ruby shouted as she jumped in the air once again. To the sound of the beat. Yang recognizing the move complied. Yang pumped her fist and hit the edge of Crescent Rose, sending her sister flying upward. Another one bites the dust. Ruby did a backflip and took aim. She began firing off shots down at the beelds that surrounded the teens. Another one bites the dust. Every bullet was an instant kill due to her aim and velocity. And another one, gone, and another one, gone. It shows Naruto doing a spin and pointing in a random direction, a beeld's head is blown off, Naruto spins again and points in a different direction, another beeld's head is blown off. Another one bites the dust. Naruto kicks his foot up as if kicking up dirt. Hey, I'm gonna get you too. Ruby looks to her left and sees the Nevermore flying at her. She flips Crescent Rose and fires which sends her back to the ground. Another one bites the dust. Blake seeing this throws her weapon which Ruby grabs and spins her towards the trees to give her a softer landing. How do you think I'm going to get along? Naruto waves his arms around in confusion and gives a confused look as he sings. Without you when you're gone. He keeps the pose as he sings. You took me for everything that I had. The Beowulf gets ready to pounce on John from behind, but Ruby zooms by and slices it in half. And kicked me out on my own. It shows both Ruby and Naruto as they make a kicking motion. Naruto hitting the air and Ruby hitting a Beowulf. Are you happy? Are you satisfied? Ruby lands into the middle of a group of beelds who snarl at her. Ruby sees something out of the corner of her eye and smirks. How long can you stand the heat? Ruby jumps as Yang slams down where she was creating a fiery shockwave. Out of the doorway the bullets rip. Ruby stood next to Blake as the two fired shot after shot. To the sound of the beat. Weiss. Ruby shouted and the girl complied. Another one bites the dust. The heiress slid forward and activated a wide glyph that froze everything near her including the beelds. Another one bites the dust. Blake and Ruby charged forward. And another one gone and another one gone. The two were slashing and cutting everything in sight, shattering the frozen grim. Another one bites the dust. Nora. Ruby shouted smash. Hey, I'm gonna get you too. The hyper girl gave a large grin and slammed her hammer in the ground. Another one bites the dust. The remaining ice pieces were shattered and sent flying everywhere. Another one bites the dust. It shows Naruto spinning as he points his hand like a gun and pulls the trigger, Ruby fires a shot killing a Beowulf. Another one bites the dust. Naruto spins again and makes another motion as if cutting something, Ruby is seen cutting a Beowulf down the middle. Another one bites the dust hey hey. Naruto spins and points two guns. Ruby is seen taking two shots at a group of beelds killing two. Another one bites the dust hee. Naruto spins one last time and gets into a fighting position. Ruby is seen cutting through a plethora of beelds working in tandem with the other students. There are plenty of ways that you can hurt a man. Ruby looks up at the Nevermore seeing that was all that was left. Then bring him to the ground. John had taken Nora Ren and Purah to deal with the Deathstalker. You can beat him, you can cheat him. I have a plan, Ruby said to the other girls who all looked at her. You can treat him bad and leave him when he's down. It shows Naruto dancing as Ruby relays her plan to the others who nod at their jobs. But I'm ready, yes, I'm ready for you. Ruby took a starting position and ran at Yang who got in position. I'm standing on my own 2 feet. Weiss activated a black glyph around Yang's fist as Ruby jumped launching her into the air at high speeds. Out of the doorway the bullets rip. Blake soon followed, but Weiss didn't activate a glyph for her. Repeating to the sound of the beat. Blake flipped over the Nevermore and wrapped her band around its neck, forcing it to look up. Another one bites the dust. Yang launched herself up and activated her semblance, and with a roar uppercutted the Nevermore, causing its body to rear vertically. Another one bites the dust. It showed Ruby far above them as Weiss activated another black glyph. Ruby switched out a regular magazine for gravity dust. And another one gone, and another one gone. Ruby launched herself. She began spinning in the air. Between the gravity dust and Weiss's black glyph, she was going faster than she ever had before. Another one bites the dust. She spun faster and faster, becoming a red and black sawblade. Hey, I'm gonna get you too. The Nevermore didn't stand a chance. It was sliced cleanly in half. Another one bites the dust. Ruby managed to hook her scythe onto the cliff and catch herself. She climbed to the top and looked down at the others with a wide smile. Instrumental. It showed Naruto dancing as Sakura and Sasuke played their instruments. Naruto did a spin and the screen split in half to show his and Ruby's face. Alright. The two said as they smiled and the song ended. UMPR. They made me a team leader. What, no way. Naruto shouted in excitement over the scroll. After settling into her dorm room, Ruby had traveled to the roof and called Naruto to tell him the good news and just ended the story. Yeah, I can't believe it either, Ruby said with a small smile. Oh, I believe it, Naruto said. Anybody who can lead a raid to get the cookies in the hotel kitchen can lead a huntsman team. Ruby giggled as that. So this partner of your? Naruto said with irritation and concern in his voice. He hadn't liked how she reacted to her. It's fine, Ruby said. I'm sure we'll be BFF soon enough. I thought I was your BFF, Naruto cried in mock hurt. I thought Sasuke was yours, Ruby questioned back with a sly smile. Never. Naruto shouted, and Rai swore she could hear Sasuke shout it too at the same time. She laughed. So when's the next time you can visit? Naruto asked. 2 weeks from now, Ruby answered. We need to get permission slip signed by our parents, and the process usually takes about 2 weeks. Man, that's too long to see you, Naruto complained, and Ruby felt heat rise to her cheeks. I'll be fine, she said. It was quiet for a moment. Your song really helped me today, Ruby said. Thank you for sending it this morning. I'm glad it did, Naruto said. I'll be sure to send more your way. Looking forward to it, Ruby said. And be sure to contact me if anyone gives you trouble, Naruto said. Oh, what are you gonna do? Ruby asked with humor in her voice. Pick all their asses. You do realize everyone here is a huntsman in training. So I don't think you'll do too well in a fight. Ah, you underestimate my dear Rose, Naruto said in a weird voice. And what exactly would you do? Ruby said laughing. Another time perhaps. Naruto said. You need to rest for your first date tomorrow. Tomorrow's a free day, Ruby said. Classes start the day after tomorrow. Oh, Naruto said feeling dumb. Yeah, Ruby said. So you can tell me all about how you would beat a huntsman in training. Nah, I'd rather tell you about how Sasuke got his ass kicked by Kenichi today, Naruto dismissed. And you? Naruto said. Ino sent you a video, didn't she? Naruto questioned and Ruby couldn't help but laugh. So the two of them talked over the scroll as the two sat on the roofs of the respective building they were on. Laughing, teasing and smiling until the sun came up. Chapter 5. That's what I like. Weiss was an heiress. She had gone to the best schools, been trained by the best instructors, and come from a family that was the leader in dust. Oh my gosh guys, my bed swings. Ruby shouted at making a new discovery. This is awesome. She had been trained by the best to be the best. She was supposed to be a leader of her own team. You gotta try this out, Weiss. Ruby said as she hung from her bed looking at her partner upside down with a goofy grin. So why was she forced to play second fiddle to a 15-year-old kid who got in on a lucky break? Oh no, I'm slipping. Ruby shouted and she fell to the floor face first with a few papers that had been on her bed fell to the floor as well. Nice face plant sis, Yang guffawed, while Blake gave a slight chuckle. It was complete bullshit. After the teams had been assigned, Weiss was a little more than surprised at the fact that Ruby had been the one to be chosen as the leader of the team they had formed. Weiss thought she had deserved to be leader. But she had decided to let it settle and see how Ruby acted. The first day did not go well. She had hardly paid attention in any class and was half asleep most of the time. The only class she seemed to be any good in was combat class, and even then that was barely. She never listened to Goodwitch, and her main focus was on the weapons than the fighting. Weiss had stayed her tongue to give the girl the benefit of the doubt. She hadn't been raised like Weiss, so she couldn't hold her to the standards that were put on her. It had been 3 weeks into the school year, and those benefits were reaching the end of their rope by now. "Hey Weiss, want to play a game with us?" Ruby asked as she pulled a board game from out of nowhere. "I don't think we have time for that," Blake pointed out as she continued reading her book. "We still have evening classes." Ruby whined as she fell over comically. Weiss felt her eye twitch. The rope was getting thinner. "This sucks," Ruby groaned out as she slammed her head on the table. "Oh no you don't," Sakura said as she lifted the red-themed girl's head up. "We're not done studying yet." "But can't we be?" Naruto groaned as his cheek was pressed on the table. "You're not even studying," Sakura shouted as she bopped the blonde on the head. "At least Sasuke's being helpful by offering to let us use his room to study." Sasuke looked over at the 3 teens in his room as his eye twitched. "I didn't offer my room," he said. "You all just barged in. And I already said once you know 70% of these flashcards we can go do something," Sakura continued acting as if she never heard what the young musician said. "And so far, you're at 50%. Ruby groaned again. Ruby had come to the realization that she was 2 years behind her classmates rather early on. But the reality of it was really kicking in lately. She had a hard time following what the teachers said most of the time because they would refer to information that she would have learned during the 2 years she had skipped. She had gone to John first for help seeing as he was the only person who had all of her classes with her, including the leadership workshop class. Unfortunately, John had told her that he too was a bit behind and had never been the best student, though he asked her to keep that to herself for some reason. He did offer to get his team and hers together to study as a group, but she had refused the idea. When John asked why, she explained. Flashback. "Promise you won't tell?" Ruby asked, looking up at the older boy. John gave her a questioning look, but nodded his head. "I don't want to drag anyone down," she said. "I'm 2 years behind on the education," she continued. "The last thing I want to do is slow down my team's learning pace as well as your team's so they can help catch me up," she explained. "Then why ask me?" John asked. "Because I thought you could help me while in class," she answered. "I have all of my classes with you, so if I got confused on something you could explain it to me in class." "Makes sense," John shrugged as her words began to fully sink in. "I'm sorry for burdening you with this," Ruby apologized. "Hey, it's alright," John said. "What are friends for?" "Thanks John," Ruby said with a shy smile. "Anytime, and while I may be lost on some things in class I'll help whenever I can," John said, returning the smile. Flashback end. What Ruby hadn't told him was that she also didn't want the other students to realize she was behind. They already disliked her for skipping. If they found out that even though she got skipped up she couldn't keep up. She didn't know if she could handle that. She couldn't ask the teachers for private tutoring, so she delved into the books whenever she could be alone, but even she knew that if she couldn't test out her new knowledge on anyone, then what was the point? Then a miracle came in the form of Naruto. Flashback. "We have those books," Naruto said over the scroll. "What?" Ruby asked, surprised. "Yeah," Naruto answered simply. "Don't forget some of us want to be huntsmen," he explained. "We learn what other schools learn," he continued. "And not to mention the people that come through here that give advice and stuff." "Wow," Ruby said in awe. "You want us to study with you?" "Really?" Ruby shouted into the scroll. "On my ear." Flashback end. Thus when Ruby's dad signed the permission slip for her to go into Vale, she was on the first bullhead to the city. Naruto had even sent her digital copies of the books so she could study on her own since she would only really see them on weekends. Which leads to the current situation of them gathering in Sasuke's room while Sakura helped her study. "Can't we take a break?" Ruby groaned. "We've been at this for hours." "You've been here for 15 minutes, Sakura said with a deadpan look. "Exactly," Naruto exclaimed, taking his chance. "We haven't seen her in weeks, so before we get down to studying we should do something fun first." "Work first and you can play all you want later," Sakura countered. "All she has to do is remember 70% of the information here and we can do whatever afterward." "But she knows 50 already," Naruto complained. "Will you settle for 60%? Besides, it's not like I have a test or quiz coming up," Ruby encouraged but immediately cowered when Sakura turned her glare on her. Sakura glared at the two before she exhaled. 1 hour and then back to studying," Sakura said. "Awesome." Naruto cheered. "Yes," Ruby cheered. Great, Sasuke said simply. Now get out of my room. But we're the only ones here, Naruto pointed out. What? Ruby said surprised. Where is everybody? They're all out getting ready for tomorrow night, Sakura answered simply. What's happening tomorrow night? Ruby asked. We have a performance, Sasuke answered. Really? Ruby gushed as the words sunk in. I didn't know you performed outside of the hotel. Oh yeah, Naruto said. We started doing it a couple of years ago, he explained. And you wanna know the best part? What? Ruby asked curious. As long as we spread the word that we mainly perform at the hotel we get to keep all the lean we make, he said with a broad grin. That's awesome. Damn right it is, Sakura agreed. Though we won't get much tomorrow night since we're only playing one song. Hey, do you wanna come? Naruto asked. Yeah. Ruby gushed. Great. Naruto said. So does that mean you're spending the night? Sakura asked. Sorry, can't do that, Ruby said apologetically. Why not? The pink-haired drummer asked. I have a seminar to go to in the morning, Ruby explained. And I really need to go. Oh okay, Naruto said simply. Don't worry, I can come by after so I'll still be able to go to the party. True, Sakura agreed with a tilt of her head. What kind of event is it? It's a tunnel party. The others turned to see someone leaning at the door. Oh hey Tamari, Ruby greeted. Hey Lillard, she greeted with a lazy wave. Don't call me that, Ruby said, miffed at the nickname. Nah. Tamari said in a teasing tone. Seriously, Sasuke said with a twitching eye. Get out of my room. So boys, Tamari called out. You guys ready for tonight? She asked with a sly smile. What's happening tonight? Naruto asked as he packed up the note cards. Oh, you haven't heard, Tamari asked. No, Sasuke said. We booked a last-minute party, Tamari explained. And they have a request. Oh what? Naruto asked. Tamari tossed him a folded piece of paper which he caught easily. He opened it and looked at it. He flinched. Seriously? Naruto asked. Oh, you know you like the song, Tamari teased. I do, but Tamari, just what kind of party is this? Naruto asked slowly. The smile on her face did nothing to help. It's teenage girl's 16th birthday party. Sasuke froze. Naruto's turned white. Sakura's eye twitched. Ruby blinked. Oh please no, Sasuke groaned. Aw man, am I going to have to hide Sasuke again? Naruto whined. Ruby blinked again. What? She asked. That's just great, Sakura scowled. She eyed Sasuke for a brief moment before looking away. Ruby said. What's the problem exactly? The others turned to look at her. You'll just have to see for yourself, Tamari said with a sly smile. Ruby blinked. Ukai, she said with a raised eyebrow. So what's the deal with Sasuke? Ruby asked, looking over at the boy who seemed to be in a sour mood at the mention of what kind of party he was performing for tonight. Oh, he's just not looking forward to tonight, Ino explained. She had arrived back at the hotel about an hour ago. She had been happy to see Ruby. The first thing she did was drag the young huntress to her room, along with Tamari and Kim, to get a second opinion on her clothes. Why did I get dragged in here? Kim muttered. Because I wasn't dealing with this by myself, Tamari answered. You had Ruby, Kim countered. Ino always needs two, Tamari said. Fair enough. Why is he not looking forward to tonight? Ruby asked. Well, mostly because of how girls act around him, Ino explained. She came out of her closet and showed of one of the outfits. Meh, Kim and Tamari said at the same time. What do you think, Ruby? Ino asked. Ruby blinked. Meh. She said, but as more of a question. Ruby, come on, Ino said. Give a real answer. I'm sorry I can't, Ruby groaned. It was her sister that was the social one of the two of them. Heck, she had helped pick out Ruby's outfit. Oog, Ino groaned, then an idea popped into her head. How about we put you in a different outfit? What? You know, I would like to see what you look like in a pair of jeans, Tamari said. Huh? Ruby shouted, looking over at the older girl. Suddenly she found herself pinned down by Kim. This won't hurt at all, Kim said with a mischievous smile. No, stay away. Ruby shouted as Tamari and Ino approached her. She was having flashbacks to when Yang used to do this. Then they were upon her. Ah, stop it. Hold still. Hey, ah no, that tickles. Got the corset. Now get the dress. It's a battle skirt. A few minutes later Ruby was out of her usual outfit and in a pair of black denim jeans and a light blue spaghetti strap shirt. I feel violated, she whined, her face completely red. Oh please, Ino scoffed. Be glad we didn't go for your underwear. Beep. Ruby squeaked as she covered herself. Would they have really done that? Now stand up, Ino commanded. Ruby hesitantly did so. Do a turn for us, Kim said. Slowly the young girl turned around. After she did a full spin she looked at the girls. Well? She asked. Tamari slowly looked up at her. You got a lot of junk in the trunk. What? Ruby asked. Yeah, Ino agreed. You can't really tell with the dress though. Battle skirt, Ruby corrected. Whatever, Ino dismissed. But seriously good for you. What are you talking about? They're saying you have a big butt, Kim said simply. What? Ruby shouted, suddenly feeling the need to cover her backside. It's not. Yes, it is, the three girls said simultaneously. I hate you guys, Ruby cried as tears fell down her face. Oh, I can't wait to see that musician play. Right. One girl squealed excitedly. He can play me all night long, another one said slyly, causing the other girls to giggle. No wonder he has a problem, Ruby thought as she listened to the girls. She was seated with Tamari and Ino at a table booth next to the bar waiting for the show to start. And here are your drinks, ladies, Choji said as he came to their table and handed out the cups. Ruby grabbed her milkshake and began drinking it. Thanks Choji, she said with a smile. Anytime, he said as he walked back to the kitchen to get a tray of food. He's always nice, Ruby commented. Yeah, unless you call him fat, Ino muttered. Would you like it if somebody called you fat, Tamari asked. True, Ino conceded. Oh, looks like it's starting. The curtains parted and revealed Naruto, Sasuke and Sakura on the stage. Naruto was wearing a black button-up shirt with a white squares littering it. A pair of black joggers with white stripes on the side. A pair of all-white sneakers covered his feet. Sasuke was behind a keyboard wearing a white collared shirt and the rest Ruby couldn't see. Sakura was at the drums wearing a black crop top and if Ruby was to guess most likely a pair of jeans. Ruby noticed that around all their necks were a pair of white headphones. Oh, I was wondering when they were going to start that back up, Tamari said. They're wearing the white ones, Ino said. The other ones must be broken still. What are you talking about? Ruby asked. But before either girl could answer, Naruto spoke into the mic. Hello, Naruto greeted as he began talking. I heard it was somebody's birthday. Right here. A girl called out and another girl stood up next to her. Well, happy birthday to you, Naruto said with a smile. Thank you, the girl said cheerfully. What's your name, birthday girl? Topaz, the girl answered. Well, Topaz, happy birthday to you, Naruto said. And guess what? What? Well, it seems some of your friends sent in a request of one of your favorite songs. They did? Yep, and here's their gift to you, Naruto continued. He looked over at Sasuke. Hit it. Sakura and Sasuke began playing on their instruments. Aye. Naruto began singing as a light shined on Sasuke. Aye. He turned to look at Sakura as a light shined on her. Aye. He did one last spin and looked over at Topaz, who squealed in delight as she realized what song it was. I got a condo down in Atlas. Naruto began to sing as he smiled at the crowd. Baby girl, what's happening? He looked over at Ruby and gave her a wink as he was singing. Ruby blushed as Naruto looked at her. You and your ass invited. He held a hand out and beckoned to Topaz to come closer. So go on and get to clap in. Naruto began waging his finger as he closed his eyes and kept singing. Girl, pop it for a player, pop it for me. He began pointing to himself as he began to rock from side to side. The girls began giggling loudly. Pop. Ruby thought. Pop what? Turn around and drop it for a player, drop it for me. Drop what? Ruby thought. She looked over at the girls in the front who were absolutely giddy. Apparently they got what he was asking. I got a house and menagerie. Naruto sang as he looked at Topaz with half-lidded eyes. Ruby took a long sip from her milkshake. Wake up with no jammies. He pulled on his shirt lightly as he gave a sly smile and the girls squealed. Lobster tail for dinner. Ruby felt her eye twitch along with a feeling of irritation wash over her. Julio served that scampi. He held his hand out as if he was holding a tray as he smiled. You got it if you want it, got it if you want it. He began dancing slightly and jerking his body at the beat. Imagine the dance Bruno Mars did in the music video. Said you got it if you want it. He spun around once and held his free hand before he pulled something out. Take my wallet if you want it now. He pulled out a wallet and tossed it into the air and the girls were clamoring to try and get it. Ruby felt her eye twitch even harder. Jump in the Cadillac, girl, let's put some miles on it. He jumped to the side lightly and began rocking his shoulders while holding his hand out to the side as if he was driving. The move from T-Pain's Buy You a Drink, Sasuke began singing with him. Anything you want, just to put a smile on it. Naruto moved his head to the side with every syllable. Sasuke joined in with him again and Naruto brought his hands to his and moves his mouth as if he was putting on a smile. You deserve it, baby, you deserve it all. Naruto held his arms out and spread his arms out at the end as he moved his hips from side to the beat. And I'm gonna give it to you. He did a spin and held his arms out wide. Cause you be shining so bright. He looked down at the cheering crowd that Ruby finally came to understand mostly consisted of teenage girls. Strawberry champagne on ice. He held his hand out as if holding a cup and pretended to take a sip. Lucky for you, that's what I like, that's what I like. He wagged his finger and began dancing and bent his knees every time he said, like as he slid across the floor without moving his feet too much. How was he doing that? Lucky for you, that's what I like, that's what I like. Ruby tilted her head slightly as she took a sip from her drink. I wonder what else he likes. Sex by the fire at night. Naruto moved his body in a suggestive manner and Ruby nearly choked on her drink at the words that came out of his mouth. The girls began screaming loudly and Ruby felt her whole body turn red at his choice of words. Silk sheets and diamonds all white. Ruby looked at him with wide eyes. Naruto held his hands out and touched Sasuke's shirt which was white. Lucky for you, that's what I like, that's what I like. Lucky for you, that's what I like, that's what I like. He did the dance move he did earlier at this part but Ruby was still reeling from his previous verse. I'm talking trips to vacuo. He moved his hand across his forehead as if wiping off sweat and began fanning himself as if he was hot. Say the word and we go. He moved his hand as if it was talking before pointing in a random direction and walked that way. You can be my freaka. He pointed to Topaz and the girls cheered. I'll be your freaka. One of them screeched. Girl, I'll be a fleeko, mamacita. Naruto pointed to himself and nodded his head cockily. I will never make a promise that I can't keep. He got down on his knees and sang into the mic with all his heart. I promise that your smile ain't gone never leave. Naruto held his hand out as he smiled widely. I believe you. A female voice shouted. Ruby narrowed her eyes as she scanned the crowd. Shopping sprees in Mistral. Naruto began swiping his hand over the other with a mic as if he was throwing money. The current fashion central. He gestured to his clothes and Ruby soon realized that she had seen those clothes in one of Yang's magazines the other day. Must be current. Take a look in that mirror. He held his hand in front of him as if looking in a mirror. Now tell me who's the fairest. He cupped his hand behind his ear and looked at the crowd as if waiting for them to answer. Is it you? Is it you? Naruto eyed Topaz and pointed at her as he sang who began blushing. Ruby felt a strange feeling come back as he pointed at her. Sasuke repeated what Naruto said. Is it me? Is it me? Naruto smiled and pointed to himself as Sasuke repeated after him again. Say it's us, say it's us. Naruto held his hand out in a shrug and the girls cheered. Seriously, how many were down there? And I'll agree, baby. He crossed his arms as he moved his body in a suggestive manner once again. Okay, Ruby thought. I'll agree. Then her mind caught up with her thoughts. Wait, what? Jump in the Cadillac, girl, let's put some miles on it. Naruto jumped slightly and began rocking side to side like he had before as Sasuke joined in. Anything you want, just to put a smile on you. Bruno Mars danced at this part. He covered his mouth with his free hand and removed it to reveal a smile. You deserve it, baby, you deserve it. He slid down and sat at the edge of the stage as he looked at Topaz that had been pushed to the stage. And I'm gonna give it to you. He leaned down and their face were almost touching, then he slid back at the last second. For some reason Ruby felt relief when he backed up. Cause you be shining so bright. The lights brightened as he gestured to the crowd who cheered as he sang. Strawberry champagne on ice. He acted like he was holding a cup and drank from it and then tossed it behind him. Lucky for you, that's what I like, that's what I like. Lucky for you, that's what I like, that's what I like. The girls began squealing again and Ruby slowly found herself squeezing down on the cup in her hand for some reason. She took a long sip from her drink. Sex by the fire at night. Ruby found herself blushing once again as he sang the words out. To her left Mari snuck a glance at her and chuckled slightly at the younger girl's actions. Silk sheets and diamonds all white. Naruto moved his hand in an arc as if revealing something as he sang. Lucky for you, that's what I like, that's what I like. Lucky for you, that's what I like, that's what I like. Naruto did the dance from earlier and some of the crowd began mimicking him. Even Ruby ended up moving her shoulders at the like part since she was sitting down. If you say you want a good time. He did a spin and the lights dimmed where he was the only one that could be seen on stage. Well, here I am, baby, here I am, baby. He pointed to himself as he rocked to the side and looked out at the crowd. Talk to me, talk to me, talk to me. He brought his hands to his chest and closed his eyes as he sang. Tell me what's on your mind. He pointed at his head as he sang and smiled out. If you want it, girl, come and get it. He held his hand out and made a gesture for Topaz to come forward. The girls giggled and began pushing said birthday girl towards the stage. All this is here for you. He gestured to himself as he smiled and the girls squealed once again. Tell me, baby, tell me, baby. Naruto held his hand out and pulled the birthday girl onto the stage. What you trying to do? The other girls began cheering. Cause you be shining, she-ening, so bright, breed, parentheses is Naruto holding the verse or word. Sasuke and Naruto sang together as Naruto held the notes and Sasuke sang at the original pace. Naruto began dancing with the birthday girl. Strawberry champagne on ice, champagne on EXE. Ruby looked down at her drink. Wonder if he'd count a strawberry shake. Lucky for you, that's what I like, that's what I like, it's what I like baby. Naruto spun the girl once and the two began doing the dance at this part. Lucky for you, that's what I like, that's what I like, oh oh. Ruby looked up at the stage with a sense of longing. She didn't know why she had it, but it was there. Sex by the fire at night, VERI at night, silk sheets and diamonds all white, all we-it. Naruto twirled the girl out and pulled her back with her back to him. He put his arm around her waist and pulled her closer. Feeling brave, the girl began swaying her hips from side to the rhythm. Ruby felt the feeling swell up again bigger than ever. Lucky for you, that's what I like, it's what I like baby, that's what I like lucky for you, that's what I like, that's what I like, oh 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 hhhu oh oh hh. Suddenly the girl bent down throwing Naruto completely off from the look of surprise that came across his face for a brief moment when she came back up slowly. He began smiling and twirled the girl around him before twirling her out and back to him. He pulled her back and the two were facing each other. Then the light went out indicating the end of the song. The crowd cheered and Ruby gave a small smile. But her eye began twitching again when the girl squealed. The lights came back on and Naruto stood next to Topaz who both smiled as they looked at the crowd. Well, I think we can agree that this was a good birthday present, Naruto said looking at the Topaz. Almost, Topaz said. Oh? Naruto asked confused. Needs one more thing, Topaz said. And what would that be? Topaz gestured for him to come closer so she could whisper something in his ear. Naruto obliged. He turned his head and leaned in to hear what she said. Only to receive a kiss on the cheek. Ruby completely crushed the cup in her hand. She looked down in shock. Good thing she had finished the shake. What was wrong with me, Ruby thought in confusion. Ino and Temari looked at each other having seen what the girl had done. They gave each other a knowing look before turning back to the stage. Who knew he was so popular, Ino muttered. I think it was more because of the song, Temari supplied. I don't know, Ino said. That girl hasn't stopped staring at him. Ruby said. What? Ino asked. Ruby turned to look at her. What exactly was I supposed to be popping and dropping? Ino blinked. Temari stared. Ruby tilted her head in confusion and curiosity. Then Ino and Temari busted out laughing. What? Ruby asked in alarm as the girls continued laughing. The girls watched as the birthday girl walked out with her friends. Naruto saw them off with a wave. They had tried to convince him and Sasuke to go out with them. Well, to be more accurate, they were trying to drag Sasuke out from the way they were holding on to him. Luckily Sakura interfered. Sorry, we have work to do, she said simply. She eyed the group who looked right back. Sparks began emitting from the two sides. Topaz had snuck by her and approached Naruto. Thanks for the song, she said with a smile. It's what I do, Naruto said with a smile. Along with leaving a trail of broken hearts too, I bet, she whispered. Naruto said. New thing, Topaz said with a knowing smile. I'll get my friends and go, she said as she began walking off, though there was a sway in her step. Ooh, she's good, Ino remarked with a sly smile. Too bad our singer's dense as a rock, Temari muttered. He sure doesn't come of that way when he sings, Ino replied. Tell me about it, Temari agreed. She looked over at Ruby who had eyed Topaz her entire way out. She was frowning, but there was a confused look on her face. Though something tells me he's not the only one. Ino chuckled. Alright, let's go congratulate the band, she said. She grabbed Ruby and Ino followed as they made their way to the others. Good job you guys, Temari said. Thanks, Sakura chirped. I'm just glad they're gone, Sasuke muttered. Oh, they weren't so bad, Naruto dismissed. Remember the last birthday party we did? Sasuke shuddered. Please don't bring that up. So what do we do now? Ino asked. Well, I gotta get to the station and head back to Beacon, Ruby said. Oh, you sure you can't stay a little longer? Temari cried. Yeah, come on, just a little longer, Ino begged. It's not even 9 yet. Ruby thought about it. The station was open until midnight. And as long as she got to, the only thing she had to worry about was the seminar, and then she would be back here anyway. I guess staying a little longer wouldn't hurt, Ruby said meekly. Yay. The others cheered. Alright, let's change you into some more clothes. Ino said. Wait, what? Ruby asked. Suddenly Ino gripped her right arm tightly. Come on Sakura, you should join us, Ino said. No. Ruby shouted. Sakura grabbed her left arm tightly. Oh, that sounds brilliant, Sakura said with a smile. Though Ruby could see the mischievous glint in her eyes. Wait, Ruby tried. Only to see a shadow above her. She looked up slowly to come face to face with the evil grin on Temari's face. Don't worry, she said. This'll be fun, then they began dragging her away. No wait Naruto, Sasuke healed. Ruby shouted looking at the two boys who looked completely lost on what was happening. Oh don't worry guys we're just increasing her fashion wardrobe, Temari said, but there was an edge in her voice that told the two of them not to interfere. And this time we're going for everything. Wait everything, Ruby said. Then she remembered their conversation from the first time this happened. No stay away from my underwear. She shouted. Oh so bold, Ino said. Letting the boys know what's about to happen, Ruby looked up in alarm at the now blushing Naruto and Sasuke, who had turned to look in a different direction. Ooh. Ruby shouted before the elevator doors closed. Naruto and Sasuke looked back at the elevator. They looked at each other. What just happened? Chapter 6. It's my life. Ruby opened her eyes groggily. She sat up slowly and looked around. She was in a hotel room. Man we had fun she thought as she yawned. She must have taken a nap. That's when she realized she wasn't the only one in the room. Temari was on her left and Sakura and Ino were on her right. They had shared the bed apparently. Okay apparently they had slept in the same bed together. Nothing she wasn't used to having a sister and dog after all. Though she was so going to get back at them for stripping thing. Ruby shivered remembering the previous night. It was bad enough when they kept stripping and dressing her in new clothes. They had even gotten her underwear. But oh no they didn't stop there. Apparently Ino thought it was a good idea to get her measurements thoroughly. And the others had agreed heartily. Ruby could still feel their roaming hands. She looked over at the table and giggled. Naruto and Sasuke were sitting across from each other their hands clasped. Their heads were face down on the table. They had fallen asleep during an arm wrestling competition. They had two identical welts on their heads. She looked over at Naruto and felt herself blushing remembering how they had gotten dragged into the room. And the welts. Flashback. No don't touch there. Ruby cried. They had gotten her into her third pair of underwear and it was starting to take its toll on her. Currently they were trying to put something on her and so far, they were succeeding. Just hold still. Ino said breathlessly. It's almost on. Sakura encouraged. Why me? Ruby cried. Temari had her pinned so she was stuck. Then a miracle happened. Temari sneezed. She released Ruby and the silver-eyed girl took her chance. She activated her semblance and zipped out the door. Only to slam into Naruto. Ow. Naruto groaned as he stumbled into Sasuke. Seriously what the ooh. Sorry Naruto, Ruby said shaking her head. When she didn't get a response she looked over at Naruto. Had she hurt him? She looked to see him looking downward with wide eyes and an open mouth. Huh? She noticed that Sasuke was deliberately looking anywhere but her. Though he would look at her from the corner of his eye but then come to his senses and look away again. What was wrong with him? Hey Ruby. Ruby turned to see Ino looking at her. She did not like the look on her face. You might want to look down. Ruby blinked and looked down and saw her clothes. Or to be exact a nightgown. A very revealing nightgown. In fact, it was more like. Oh my I'm wearing lingerie Ruby thought in horror. Beacon. Yang shot straight up in her bed highly alert. She looked around with narrowed eyes. I feel like something very wrong is happening. Something that's happening way too early. Patch. Yang was looking over his lessons for the next week when he felt a shiver down his spine. He looked around with a fearful look. Something was wrong. Suddenly his scroll began beeping. It was Yang. He picked it up. Do you feel it too? Taeyang asked urgently. Elsewhere. Crow was walking away from a bar and heading out to his next mission when he suddenly stood stock still. He looked around. Shit, he grumbled out before he continued walking. Something was happening. And something told him he didn't want to know. A moment later he received a call from Taeyang. Double shit, he muttered. Hotel. She looked down at the clothing that had been forced on her. It was an off-shoulder black see-through gown that stopped at the middle of her thighs. And under it had been the last pair of underwear Ino and the others had forced on her. And if she was honest it could barely be called that. It was way too revealing. So are you just going to stand there with the door open? Temari asked. Oh no. She was in the open. Someone could see her in this. Her blood ran cold. She looked up slowly to see Naruto still staring. There was a small river of blood coming from his nose. Sasuke was also staring at this point. Apparently he had given in to his baser urges. Now she realized what was wrong with Naruto and Sasuke. They were staring at her. And the lingerie. Ooh. Ruby cried out. This went flying a second later. Flashback end. After that Ruby had gotten dressed and they played games and talked for the rest of the time they had Ruby. What time was it anyway? She had to get back to Beacon. She looked over at the clock that read 9:15 am. She moaned out blissfully before laying back down. Wait. Ruby jumped out of the bed and grabbed the clock, hoping it was a trick of the light. 9:16 am. Ruby screamed. Naruto shouted as he stood up, slamming Sasuke's hand down. Ow. Sasuke shouted as he stood up next and looked at his throbbing hand. Who the hell woke me up? Temari shouted angrily as she looked around, having been woken up as well. Sakura jumped up startled and ended up falling out of the bed. Ah. I'm going to be late for the seminar. Ruby shouted before zooming out of the room. Naruto looked around in confusion at what just happened. He looked over at the clock and saw what time it was. Then he understood what happened. He got ready to walk before he stepped on something. Then he looked down to see what it was. Ruby's clothes. Oh, that wasn't good. Good thing he had lent her those shorts and shirt. Hope she makes it, Naruto muttered. She didn't make it. She had gone as fast as she could to be on time. She hadn't expected the bullheads to have a traffic delay. By the time it landed at Beacon, the seminar was over. It did not help her mood to see that she was wearing Naruto's clothes. She had left hers at the hotel. Well, at least she had been smart enough to put them on after the lingerie incident. So she quickly but stealthily made her way to her room. The only evidence of her travel being the trail of rose petal, but those would disintegrate soon. She made a quick trip to her room to find no one there. She quickly changed into her regular clothes and headed to the room the seminar was supposed to be in. Ruby walked into the room slowly. It was empty. She sighed dejectedly. Ms. Rose, I see you've arrived. Ruby turned around to see Professor Goodwitch staring at her with an impassive face. I'm sorry, Professor, she said simply. I lost track of time. That's no excuse, the blonde teacher shot back. Ruby winced. I know, she said. I'm not making any, Ruby continued with a serious face. And I'll take any punishment you give me, but I was wondering if I could make it up. Linda blinked. I still want to learn, the young girl said. Linda certainly hadn't expected that. Usually students tried making excuses about why they did something wrong. They never accepted responsibility. And they certainly never asked how they could make up for it unless they were about to fail a class. Come to my office after classes Monday, Glinda said simply. And I'll let you off with a warning this time. Ruby beamed at her. Don't make this a habit, Ms. Rose. I promise I won't, Ruby said with determination. Thank you, she said cheerfully. Then she was off. Glinda watched her walk off. Maybe it wasn't such a bad idea to admit her early, Glinda said to herself. Ruby walked down the hall towards her room thinking about her plan for the next 2 days. So there's the concert tonight, Ruby said. I'll just wear my usual clothes, she said. And I'll avoid Ino and Temari at all costs, she thought with a shudder. Oh, maybe John can help me with the leadership assignment, she thought, remembering the homework that was due at the end of next week. It's the only set assignments and 2 heads are better than 1. Ruby? Ruby looked up to see John walking towards her. Speaking of. You missed the seminar, John pointed out. Don't remind me, Ruby sighed. Thankfully Professor Goodwitch said I can make it up after class Monday, she said. Oh, that's great, John said. Yeah. Do you want to go over my notes, John asked. Huh? Ruby looked up surprised. Well, since you weren't there I decided to pay extra attention to my notes, he began. I wrote everything down, and I wrote it in different colored pen from what I knew to what I didn't, he explained. I left a key so you can look at it yourself. Then I had Purah and Ren go over it with me, so I knew what information was more important than the rest or even what I didn't know. Wow, Ruby said, impressed. Yeah, and I figured I'd go over it with you since you missed it, John said. And this way you'll only have to focus on what you don't know when you see her Monday. That's a great idea, John. Great, John said cheerfully. I'll get them from my room and we can head to the library. Great. Ruby chirped. And afterward we can work on the leadership assignment, John smiled and nodded on agreement. Alright, just let me grab a few items, Ruby said. Then the two walked into the hall that held their rooms and they headed into them. Ruby didn't expect to see any of her teammates in their room. It was a Saturday after all. She leapt onto her bed and grabbed her notebook and noticed something on her bed. It was an envelope. She opened it and read over the paper. After reading it she couldn't help the smile that was plastered on her face. She was going to show John and the others. She got off her bed and headed towards her door, but someone opened it from the other side. Weiss. Oh hey Weiss, Ruby greeted with a wave. Weiss looked up and her leader came into view of her vision. Then she became the focus. Guess what, I have great news, Ruby said with a wide smile. Better wait to tell you, though I'd rather tell Blake and Yang at the same time, she continued, not noticing the look on Weiss's face. Where were you? Huh? Ruby asked, looking up slightly. Where were you? Weiss asked again. Oh, I got sidetracked and lost track of time, Ruby explained. But I get a CH, you're pathetic. Ruby paused as the words caught her by surprise. What? She asked. I held my tongue, Weiss began with an edge in her voice. I thought I would give you benefit of the doubt since you were younger than me, she continued. But you kept acting immature. Weiss, Ruby began slowly. Shut up, Weiss snapped. Ruby flinched back at the tone. You fall asleep in the classes and if you don't then you don't pay attention, Weiss said. You don't take anything seriously and you goof off every chance you get. Ruby gulped. You've done nothing to earn your position as leader, Weiss continued. All you've been is a hindrance to everyone around you. Ruby felt her heart drop with every word. Everyone here is serious about becoming huntsmen and huntresses, Weiss said venomously. When I came here I expected to get a partner who was competent and lead my own team with all of the training I went through and become the best, Weiss continued. Instead I got you. Ruby wanted to say something, but her voice refused to work. I would even take that charity case John over you. Ruby felt her eyes burning. I don't know how Osmond could think making you a leader was a good idea, Weiss continued. No. Please don't say it. You don't even deserve to be here. Ruby felt hollow. Just do the smart thing for once and leave before you make even more of a mockery of serious huntsmen and huntresses. Weiss shoved past her and grabbed something and walked right back out. Ruby couldn't move. Then her scroll beeped. She looked at it and saw that it was Naruto calling her. Ruby? She looked up alarmed to see Yang looking at her through the doorway. Ruby, there you are, she said. Where have you been? Ruby stared at her older sister. Then she ran. Whoa. Yang said as Ruby shoved past her with her semblance and disappeared. Ruby, where are you going? She shouted. She looked in the direction her sister ran and sighed. Must have something on her mind, the Y of rwby muttered. I'll check on her later, Yang said before walking into her room for a nap. Hey Yang. Yang turned around to see John crouch down as he picked up a piece of paper. He read over it and some kind of recognition crossed his eyes. Do you know where Weiss went? He asked. She said she was heading to the library earlier so probably there, Yang answered. Thanks, he said before he began walking off. Trying to score a date lover boy, Yang teased with a sly smile. John stopped walking for a moment and looked at the paper he had picked up again. Yeah, something like that, he said simply and began walking again. Ruby didn't know why she did it. She really didn't. But somehow after Weiss's talk, she found herself standing in front of the hotel. She looked up at the sign and stood stock still. Maybe I shouldn't have come back, she thought. I don't need to dump my problems on them. And why should she? She would just be a burden here like she was at school. She turned to walk away. Ruby? Ruby stopped mid-stride as she heard Naruto's voice. Hey, you're back here earlier than I thought, he greeted cheerfully. Did you get my call earlier? You're a nuisance. I thought that seminar would have been longer plus the ride here. You don't deserve to be here. Ruby? Just do the smart thing for once and leave. These thoughts plagued her mind. What happened? Ruby looked up to see Naruto in front of her. He looked angry. Who made you cry? He asked. There was an edge in his voice. Huh? Ruby touched her cheek slightly. She felt something wet hit her hands. She was crying. She looked at Naruto with wide eyes. That was all he needed. He pulled her into a firm but gentle embrace. Ruby slowly brought her arms up and wrapped them around him slowly. They stayed like that as the streets around them bustled. But neither of them heard anything. Ruby didn't make a sound. She just let the tears fall and Naruto didn't care about it getting his shirt wet. They stayed that way until Tenten rounded the corner back to the hotel and saw them like that sometime later. John arrived in the library and began scanning the room. A moment later he found his target. She was sitting by herself reading through a textbook. He made his way over to her. Weiss, John called. The heiress looked up to see who called her and frowned when she realized who it was. What do you want? She scowled. She wasn't in the mood to get asked out again. Especially by him. John stared at her for a moment. What? I let some of it go because you don't know everything, he began. What? She asked confused. I'll even look over the part about you calling me a charity case, he continued. Oh. He had overheard her conversation with Ruby. But I won't overlook you saying she doesn't belong here, John said. Weiss snorted. She deserves to be here more than any of us, John said. Oh really? Weiss scoffed. How do you figure that? John handed her a piece of paper. Weiss looked at him, but when he didn't back down she grabbed the paper and looked at it. What she saw caused her to pause. It was Ruby's grades so far. They were A's and B's all across. What? Weiss hissed in shock. She studies every chance she gets, John explained. She stays after class every day and talks to the teachers about ways to help her, Weiss looked up at him. And she stays up late to catch up. Catch up? Weiss asked. She's 2 years younger than us, Weiss, John said. She didn't learn everything she needed to learn before she came here, John continued. So she stays up late and studies everything she can to catch up on top of her regular class work. Weiss understood the implications of those words. When you go back to your room, look at her bed. Why? Weiss asked. Just do, John responded. He let out a breath. Why, she's trying her hardest every day to do right by you and your team, he explained. The last thing she wanted was to make you guys feel like she was a burden. Weiss had nothing to say. What you said was out of line, he said. You're no better than the others. Others? John looked at her with a blank expression. It wasn't his place to tell her everything, but he could hint. Try to listen to the students around you from time to time, the blonde knight said simply. Weiss slowly nodded. Those things you said to her were cruel, John trailed off. She should have never heard that from her teammate, her partner no less, John continued. Let me ask you, has she ever tried to put you down or said harsh things to you? Weiss wanted to point out the emerald forest, but even she knew that was just grasping for straws and being petty. And as she thought about it, she had verbally attacked her Ruby first. And multiple times at that before she actually bit back. Weiss had pushed her to the limit to make her angry. As far as I'm concerned, you're the one who doesn't belong to be here, John said slowly. He got up and got ready to leave. I didn't know, Weiss defended weakly. True, John admitted. But did you try to learn, he asked. Or did you hold her to a certain standard without even trying to understand her situation? Weiss couldn't respond. That's what I thought. Then without another word he left, leaving the heiress to her thoughts. What a bitch, Tamari muttered as she took a sip from her drink. Tamari, don't say that, Mew reprimanded. Even if it's true, Tenten grumbled. After Tenten had found Naruto and Ruby outside hugging, she was going to tease them, but soon realized it wasn't that kind of embrace. She helped usher Ruby into the hotel where the others were lounging around the lobby. Naruto asked what happened, so she told them about the confrontation with Weiss. And that led to her telling them about how other students didn't take too well to her. Some of them, such as Sasuke, remained calm, though held clear disgust on their faces. It seemed that Sasuke especially had it for some reason. Others like Sakura looked ready to storm the place and wreak havoc upon the students. Ino had mentioned how she would find dirt on all of them and make their lives hell. Naruto had remained eerily silent during her story. When it was over, he stood up and walked away. Ruby admitted that it kind of stung to see him walk away simply. DCH, if this is how huntsmen act in real life, then I don't want to be one, Kiba growled angrily. Agreed, Chaoji said through a mouthful of chips. I'll find out who they are, Ino said. And if they ever stay at the hotel, I'll make sure their stay here will be very rememberable. Troublesome, Shikamaru stated as he looked half asleep. But Ruby could see the frown on his face. It doesn't matter, Sasuke said. The others turned to look at him in shock and anger. What the hell does that mean? It means that dog breath, Sasuke retorted. Let them talk all they want. They're just jealous and intimidated by her, he explained. My brother went through it, he continued. If they're going to be so intimidated by someone younger than them to the point that they're hostile, they don't deserve to be huntsmen. True, Ino agreed. How is he anyway? Sasuke simply shrugged before he got up to walk off. Wow, way to answer my question, Ino drawled. Before he got far, he stopped and looked over his shoulder. He'll show his affection in his own way, he said, looking at Ruby, who looked back at him. Right now he's probably letting off some steam. Naruto was breathing hard. Sweat glistened on his face. He inhaled deeply and exhaled slowly. I feel much better, he said with a cheerful smile. And I know just what to sing tonight, he thought as he began humming a song as he made his way to the elevator. He entered the elevator and gave one last look into the arena. Training dummies had been ripped in half and equipment had either been destroyed and dismantled. I'll clean that up later, he said with a shrug as the elevator doors closed. Weiss walked down the hall slowly. She was making her way to her room. And she was still reeling from what John had said to her. As she slowly made her way down the hall, she could hear the whispers. She had never paid much attention to them, but now she did. And it made her blood run cold. Hey, that's the Ruby chick's partner. Man, how unlucky is she? Yeah, I feel bad that she got stuck with the show-off. Maybe she can bring her down a peg or two. Or maybe she'll get her to leave. Oh, even better, that'll show that pompous girl that she's not better than us. Weiss wanted to yell at them to shut up. She wanted to tell them that that wasn't how Ruby acted or even thought. But the words wouldn't come out. This is what Ruby has to listen to every day, she thought. Then another thought came to her. I told her she didn't deserve to be here. She opened the door to her room and entered and looked around. Yang was taking a nap and Blake was nowhere to be seen. She looked at her bed and what John had told her came to mind. Look at her bed. Weiss looked up and slowly made her way to the bed. She removed the sheet that was used as a makeshift tent. Her eyes widened at what she saw. There were papers everywhere. Homework and textbooks were everywhere along with notes. Textbooks from their classes. And more. Weiss narrowed her eyes when she read some of the titles. These were books that were used for younger years. The years that Ruby had skipped. She had been trying to catch up. That's why she was always in her bed when they were in their room. She was doing this. And probably at late hours in the night. Suddenly her sleeping in class made sense. Weiss looked down in shame. What have I done? It was crowded. That was the first thing that registered with Ruby when they had arrived. It had been the fact that it was actually being held on a closed road in a tunnel. This was definitely more Yang's scene than hers. And honestly she was still reeling from earlier. She didn't want to be here, but Naruto hadn't really given her a choice. Flashback. But you have to come, Naruto said. Sorry Naruto, she said shyly. I just don't want to. Because of what happened earlier? Ruby didn't answer. Ruby? Ruby looked up meekly and made contact with his eyes. And instantly regretted it. They were big, innocent and watery, and his mouth was pouting. No. The puppy dog pout. She knew it would come back at her one day, but she certainly didn't expect it today. And from him. And his whiskers only made him cuter. So unfair. Is this what Yang felt like when I did it to her? Be good witch. Be good witch. Ruby mentally commanded herself. Nothing affected that woman. Just then Sakura walked over to him. And out. Naruto, what are you doing? Sakura asked. Why are you bothering Ruby? She said she doesn't want to come to the party. Oh, Sakura said. So I'm trying to convince her. Oh okay, Sakura said understanding. Ruby got ready to say something, but she stopped at what happened next. Sakura was next to Naruto. And she was doing the puppy dog pout too. Good witch. Good witch. Good witch. She shouted mentally. Add an oobleck. A foreign voice added. Nothing ever affects him. Then Sasuke walked by. He looked to see Naruto and Sakura with rainbows and sunshine surrounding them as they looked at Ruby who had a purple aura and a silhouette of her teachers behind her, as if giving her power. What the hell are you idiots doing? Sasuke asked. Ruby said she doesn't want to come to our concert, Sakura said, not letting up with a face. Sasuke, tell them to stop, Ruby said. Sasuke would see reason. Sasuke looked between the two sides. Then with a sigh he walked over to them. He stood next to Naruto and Sakura. Then to Ruby's horror he made the face too. It was too much. The sunshine and rainbows blew away the teachers and her alike. Okay, I'll go. Ruby agreed as she held her arms in front of her to cover her face. Flashback end. Damn his whiskers. And those eyes. Those bright blue eyes. She could get lost in them forever. Wait, what? Ruby shook her head at the foreign thoughts clouding her head. What are you thinking about? She looked over at Tamari who was next to her. Nothing really, Ruby said quickly. Tamari said with a raised eyebrow, not believing the girl at all. Hey, looks like they're about to start, Tenten said, getting their attention. Ruby looked up to see Naruto and the others walking up to the stage. Their clothes were rather simple this time. Naruto was wearing a loose black t-shirt and dark blue jeans. Sasuke was wearing a long neck white shirt and a pair of black shorts. Sakura wore a black loose neck shirt that ended just above her stomach and a black glittering miniskirt. Naruto walked up to the mic as the two got in position and looked at the crowd. Are you ready to party? He was met with cheers. I'm sorry I didn't quite hear that, he said, cupping his ear. I said, are you ready to party? The crowd was louder this time. Alright, we're just the starting band, but I guarantee we'll have you hyper than all the others. There were some snorts and laughs amongst the crowd. It seemed not everybody believed him. Naruto expected that. He gave a wild grin. He held his hand up and began counting down. When he hit 1 the instruments kicked in. Ruby looked up as the crowd began cheering. You're in for a treat, Tamari said with a sly smile. Huh? Ruby asked. But before she got an answer Naruto began singing. This ain't a song for the broken-hearted. Naruto pointed forward and looked dead at Ruby as he sang with a serious face. Ruby flinched and looked away from his gaze. Yeah, a real treat. No silent prayer for the faith departed. He brought his hand back and put a finger to his mouth before moving his arm out slowly while bending his knee to the beat. I ain't gonna be just a face in the crowd. Naruto shook his head and pointed to his face and moved his arms. You're gonna hear my voice. He grabbed the mic with his hand and looked at the crowd as they cheered. When I shouted out loud. He bobbed his head with every syllable as he sang. Then all of the instruments went silent. Sakura hit her drums one at a time with vigor as she smiled while Naruto turned his head side to side with each drum hit from Sakura. It's my life. Naruto began playing on the guitar once again as Sasuke played on the piano as the two in sync. The crowd began cheering. It's now or never. Tamari stood next to Tenten and Kankuro and cheered as well. I ain't gonna live forever. Naruto looked over at Ruby who, while she was paying attention, her confidence was still shot. I just want to live while I'm alive. Naruto frowned before turning back to the crowd and sang. It's my life. Sasuke sang the verse while Naruto played the guitar. My heart is like an open highway. Naruto hit his fist over his heart twice before moving arm in a gesture towards the ground. Ruby couldn't help but laugh at the words since they were standing on a road. Like huntsmen say. He continued singing and Ruby looked up surprised at the words he chose. I'll do things my way. He spun one time and pumped his hand forward and pointed at the crowd before pointing to himself. I just want to live while I'm alive. He sang into the mic as he gave a wink in a random direction and Ruby could hear girls squealing from the direction he winked. It's my life. Ruby felt her eye twitch but ignored it as he continued singing. Tamari saw the slight twitch and couldn't help but chuckle. This is for the ones who stood their ground. Naruto did a spin and stomped his foot as he pointed to the ground. For all the huntsmen who never back down. Ruby couldn't help but smile at the verse but quickly looked away when she saw Naruto looking at her again with the same gaze. Tomorrow's getting harder, make no mistake. Sasuke once again joined in as he sang, but Naruto's gaze never left Ruby who still refused to look up. Luck ain't even lucky. Slowly Ruby looked up and their gazes met. Ought to make your own breaks. He raised a single eyebrow as he looked at her as if asking. Well. Sakura hit her drums once again and this time the entire crowd shook their head in tandem. It's my life. This time when Naruto and Sasuke sang the words the audience joined in. And it's now or never. Naruto nodded his head then shook it to the words. I ain't gonna live forever. He smiled lightly and lifted his shoulders while shaking his head slightly. I just want to live while I'm alive. He closed his eyes as he sang into the mic and Ruby began thinking about the past 3 weeks since she entered Beacon. It's my life. Then she thought about what she had done while she was there. My heart is like an open highway. Naruto his chest over his heart twice before gesturing to the floor once again like he had the last time. Like huntsmen say. He raised his hand and moved it in a talking motion as he sang. I'll do things my way. He spun one time and pumped his hand forward and pointed at the crowd before pointing to himself once again. I just want to live while I'm alive. He sang into the mic as he sang with Sasuke. Pause, it's my life. Stop singing and the other instruments were played at a lower volume so Naruto could be heard over everything. Instrumental. Naruto stopped singing and focused on the guitar and the crowd went crazy as they cheered. Ruby on the other hand looked on in slight awe. Slowly a smile made its way onto her face. He always knows what to say, she thought as she looked at the blonde on stage. Better stand tall when they're calling you out. Naruto looked over at Ruby once again and smiled at what he saw. Don't bend, don't break, baby, don't back down. Ruby looked right back at him without flinching. Her smile just as big as his. His words had gotten across to her. Its, Miley if. The crowd jumped into the air with Naruto as they sang along with him. And it's now or never. Ruby shook her head to the words as she began moving along to the beat. Pause, I ain't gonna live forever. Naruto continued singing and the crowd joined in as they all sang live forever. I just want to live while I'm alive. Ruby and Tamari looked at each other and sang the words both with smiles on their face. Its my life. Naruto raised his hands and the crowd sang the verse. My heart is like an open highway. Naruto began beating over his chest and the crowd joined in with the motion that he had done throughout the song at this verse. Like huntsmen say. He raised his voice at the line and then pointed to the crowd. I'll do things my way. Ruby along with the crowd sang the next line as they danced around. I just want to live while I'm alive. Naruto began singing once again as he played the guitar. Its my life. Tamari put her arm over Ruby's shoulder and the two sang the words as they pumped their fists in the air. And it's now or never. Next to them Tenten and Kankuro sang the words as they shook their heads. Pause, I ain't gonna live forever. Ruby slid next to Gaara and the two sang the words though Gaara kept his stoic look though there was the hint of a smile on his face. I just want to live while I'm alive. Tamari appeared behind Ruby and wrapped her arms around her and Ruby couldn't help but laugh as Tamari sang while making a weird face. Naruto looked at the crowd. You can do better than that. He shouted into his mic. The crowd took the challenge. Its my life. The crowd sang the verse putting all of their heart into it. My heart is like an open highway. Ruby and the others repeated the gesture along with the crowd as they all sang out, open highway. Like Ruby says. Naruto sang and the red-themed girl blushed slightly as he looked over at her and winked. Behind her Tamari and Tenten give sly grins. I'll do things my way. The crowd sang the next verse like before completely missing the slight change in words that Naruto had said. I just want to live while I'm alive. Together Naruto and the crowd sang the last words and Ruby couldn't help but smile. Pause, it's my life. Naruto and the others played on their instruments with each word. When the song ended they stopped playing and the lights on the stage turned off. The crowd cheered loudly and Ruby couldn't help but join in. Naruto had been right in his prediction. None of the other bands had gotten the crowd as hype as they had. Ruby and the others had danced and shouted throughout the entire thing, though occasionally there would be calls for Naruto and the others to go back up and sing another song. The request was never answered unfortunately. When the party ended and everyone trickled on out, Tamari led the group to the back. "You guys were great." Tamari complimented as Naruto and the others packed the last of the instruments up. "Was there ever any doubt?" Naruto said smugly as he slung the guitar over his back. "Well, I knew Sasuke and Sakura would be okay," Tamari responded. "You not so much." Naruto's response was to give her the bird. "That's not nice, Tamari," Ruby said, and Naruto gave her a grateful smile. "Even if it is true." Naruto gasped as he looked at Ruby in mock betrayal. The others laughed at the blonde's expense as he turned away from them as he cried in I'm tears. "You guys wanna help out here?" Sasuke said as he jerked his head to the drum set. He picked up the keyboard with relative ease and cradled it in one arm while the other was in his pocket. The others immediately went to grab the rest of the equipment. Ruby picked up the piano stand and attached it to the holster where she held Crescent Rose usually. "Well, isn't that convenient?" Tamari said as she saw the girl attach the stand. "Your butt's big enough to carry the stand." Ruby rounded on her with a glare. "My butt is not big," she hissed. "Yes, it is," Ino said walking by. Ruby gasped and looked at the blonde who gave her an evil grin. "Take it back," Ruby growled. "What can't handle the truth," Yukata said with an innocent smile. "So in denial," Tenten agreed. "It's big enough to balance a stand on it," Tamari added with a teasing smirk. "Yours is bigger than mine," Ruby accused looking at the blonde. "Yep, and so's my chest," Tamari agreed with a superior grin. She put a hand under her chest and lifted it slightly as if to emphasize the point. "And don't you forget it." All of the girls turned to glare at her. She can never meet Yang, Ruby thought. Ruby shuddered at the thought of these two meeting and worse befriending each other. She could only handle one of them at a time. Ladies." They all turned to look at Naruto who was staring at them with a strange expression. "You ready to go?" The girls continued to stare at him. Then Tamari gained an evil look. "Naruto, you agree, right?" Tamari began. "Ruby has a bi-mile per hour." She began but was cut off when Ruby zoomed over and covered her mouth. Tamari struggled to get the girl off, but Ruby refused to move. All the other girls laughed at the events that took place in front of them. Naruto blinked. He had no idea what was going on. "So ready to party when we get back," Tamari said as they walked through the night towards the hotel. "Didn't we just leave a party?" Ruby pointed out. "So?" Tamari answered with a smirk. Ruby chuckled. "As fun as that sounds, I'm gonna have to pass," Ruby said. "I gotta get back to Beacon," she explained. "Oh," Tamari whined. "I got school tomorrow," Ruby said simply. "True, and we don't want her to be late or anything," Sakura spoke up. They had made her late this morning and that hadn't gone well. "Doesn't mean it doesn't suck," Naruto grumbled. "Sorry," Ruby said with a small smile. "Chen," Sasuke answered. "Oh Sasuke, are you going to miss me?" Ruby teased. He stared at her with a deadpan expression before turning away. "Chen," was all he said. The others laughed and Naruto walked up next to her. "Glad you feeling better," Naruto said simply as the two of them trailed behind the others. "Yeah," Ruby agreed. "I'm glad you knew what to sing." "I'm good at what I do," Naruto said smugly and Ruby giggled. "So are you ready to face her when you get back?" "I don't need to," Ruby said simply. "I've been doing the best I can," she said. "And I'm going to keep doing that." Ruby looked into the night sky. But, Naruto asked. "But the least I can do is make that clear to her," she said. Naruto smiled. "Fair enough." "Yep," Ruby agreed. Naruto lightly elbowed her, causing her to stumble. Ruby looked at him as he beamed at her. She smiled slyly and thrusted her hip to the side, pushing him. Naruto held and retaliated. Soon the two were bumping each other for the rest of the walk, smiling away. "Hey Ruby," Tenten spoke up, causing the two to stop. "Yeah," she responded. "You said you're trying to head back tonight." "Yeah. It's 8:45. "Crap." She shouted. She activated her semblance and sped off, leaving a trail of roses behind her. Suddenly she came back and handed Sasuke the stand she had been carrying. "Sorry, can't help you to gotta see you later," she said without any spaces. Then she was gone again. Slowly the others began laughing. It was a little after 10 when Ruby arrived. Ruby walked into her room to see that everyone had already gone to sleep. She grabbed her PJs and headed to the bathroom to change. After changing, she stealthily jumped onto her bed and got ready to sleep. "Ruby?" Ruby perked up and looked around. Slowly her partner stood up and looked up at her. "Hey Weiss," Ruby said lightly. "Where have you been?" the heiress asked. "Uplaces," Ruby answered weakly. She wasn't ready to share the hotel and her friends from there just yet. "Whatever," Weiss huffed. "Look, I want to talk." "Okay," Ruby answered, darting her eyes around in confusion. Was she gonna yell at her again? Because Ruby had a big speech planned for tomorrow. "I was out of line earlier," Weiss said. "Wait, what?" "The things I said," Weiss began, "were extremely out of line." Ruby's eyes widened. "I saw the papers on your bed," Weiss continued. And what's worse, I got chewed out by John for how I treated you. Ruby made a mental note to thank John tomorrow. I expected you to act how I was taught, Weiss said. When I should have just tried to support you, she continued. That's all you've tried to do with me. Ruby remained silent. I'm sorry for not being a good teammate, Weiss said. But I promise I'll be better. Ruby stared at her for a moment. Then she smiled slightly. It's okay, Weiss, Ruby said gently. Weiss looked up at her in surprise. I understand why it seems like I haven't been trying, but I have, Ruby began slowly. So please trust me when I say I only want the best for this team. Weiss looked at the girl with wide eyes. But slowly a bright smile came across her face. I do, Weiss said softly. And in exchange I'll be the best teammate I can be. Thank you, Ruby said with a smile. Good night, Weiss. Good night, Ruby. What if Naruto x Ruby and rwby end here, and thanks for watching my video till the end.